Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
The internet is full of half-truths and all-out lies. We've all seen them, and many people on social media complaining about it. Here's your chance to show and prove. WorldAfropedia.com is a black-owned and operated encyclopedia. There are several thousand articles, but we need help. We can't uncover all the truth ourselves. So please, join us and become a writer, editor, or blogger for WorldAfropedia.com today. Every little bit counts. We owe it to the future generations to put the truth out there. Visit WorldAfropedia.com, the African-centered encyclopedia, a global database of African knowledge for the purpose of bringing about global African wisdom and understanding. WorldAfropedia.com.
So just to say, my name is Stacey and I'm calling from London in the UK. This is the first time I've ever called into a radio show, so as I said before, just please bear with me. I won't give my age range, but I can say that I've had too many years of racist experiences in the workplace, and I guess sometimes you just work your way through it because you have to, but I would definitely say the last 3 years have been particularly traumatic for me, and in all honesty I don't think I would have ever got through it without cows, coming across the cows by chance, and then also just taking time out to really work on myself and being able to do that as a result of finding this show. So I do thank you and all of the people who regularly call into the show, because I think sometimes you say people shouldn't be spectating, but definitely I've been listening for about 3 years, and it's taken me 3 years to just be in a place mentally where I could actually call in and make sense of it. So I'm sure there are many silent listeners who are also on that same journey. But in terms of what I wanted to do, I just covered two things. Firstly, just some tips for the other callers and people who are listening in, because I think for the last couple of months, definitely people have been talking about tips and also ways of dealing with trauma and managing your emotions. And I think for me, definitely, I've made a lot of mistakes in that area, but I've certainly been working on managing how I deal with the constant barrage of undermining and just blatant abuse in the workplace. And so what I will do, Gus, is I will send you a link to website, and it's all about neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have not.
Okay, I think it's on the spectrum of sort of not mental health. Well, yeah, I guess it relates to mental health, but hypnosis and ways of dealing with people who've gone through traumatic experiences. And the site I found is quite a good one. He's a weird little man. It's compensatory. I'm not going to say his name out, but I will send the link. And I found it about a year ago, and it took me probably a whole year to really be able to use it and use it in a way that's effective for me. There are lots of video clips, and what I do is I stop and start and pause the video where I need to, because he will give you bits of advice and things to do. So it's almost like he is demonstrating NLP sessions on clients through meetups, and it's just a way of dealing with lots of issues, and I try to apply it to the situations that I have dealt with in the workplace, both past, current, and actually sometimes just working on things that I know are going to come up that are going to be difficult. So it's almost a way of role playing. For me it is role playing and a way of trying to just talk through the scenarios before I go into those meetings. That way I've said anything I need to say by role playing and dealing with the emotions of that situation. Therefore, I'm a lot calmer in when I'm actually in those meetings, and it really does work for me. But also in terms of dealing with past experiences that have been traumatic, and we all kind of have flashbacks of things that didn't go well, things that people have said to you, things that you had to be silent on because you're in the workplace, and those things can really start to undermine your confidence. And it's just a way of going back and revisiting those situations and thinking about the lessons in that scenario. And for me, just working out, okay, well, that happened, that was for a reason, and just letting go of the emotion of it. And you may have to replay those sessions a few times, or that experience a few times, and eventually it will become a time where even if you think about the event, the emotion has been released, and that's helped me to move on quite a bit. So not necessarily forgetting, but dealing with that emotion, and that's really important, I think, for people's mental health and well-being. All right, so I'm going to now just go through my recent workplace terrorism. So I work on projects, and I have somebody allocated to me, which is a support officer. I don't know if you have the same kind of setup in America, but sometimes you can have a member of staff supporting you. You're not necessarily line managing that person. They're reporting to someone else, but they may have 2 days or so, as in my case, of that person's time allocated to support me on a particular project. And I've had support officers in the past, and this particular one started in October 2015. But it's fair to say that some of the issues that I'm raising, and I'm going to not use that word again, I've experienced them with his predecessors. So he started off really well, working with me on 2 projects. And probably about 2 or 3 months in, he came to me one day and he says, "Oh, I'm not allowed to work with you on one of these particular projects because the person he reported to, which was the head of my team, had said it wasn't a good use of his time." And I was actually quite stunned, not least because she didn't actually come and tell me, which would have been more appropriate. I was sort of hearing it through him. And, I think in all innocence, he just said it exactly the way that she had said it to him, which probably wouldn't have been the way she wanted it to come across, but hey ho, that's what happened. So I said, okay, leave it with me. And so I went back to her and I sent her an email and I said, look, I've just been informed of this, can you just explain to me what the issue is, and also can I have a copy of his JD, because at that time I didn't have a copy of his job description, and also please explain to me what the problem is. And I think I picked it up with my line manager, but I probably did copy her in as well to that email. And I had a meeting with my line manager, and she waffled on for a good half an hour to 45 minutes, not answering my question of basically what is his job and what is it that I'm supposed to be asking him to do, and why are the things that I've been asking him to do inappropriate. And she couldn't tell me what he was supposed to be doing, or in fact what was in his JD, or refused to do that, but could clearly tell me what he wasn't supposed to be doing. And that situation has literally gone on since October 2015. And his behaviour, whereas he started off really, supportive, just got progressively worse, completely undermining me, being disrespectful, not doing the things that I need him to do, and sometimes I wouldn't necessarily know those things have not been done for a couple of months. And so how I handled it was to firstly, as I said, keep meeting with my line manager, and eventually my head of team probably met with me 3 months afterwards and had said, she's the head of the team, and she, if I've got any issues, I should bring it to her. And she did inform me that she'd had him monitoring for because he was about to have his end of year review. And so 2 weeks leading up to his end of year review, she'd had him monitoring everything that I'd asked him to give her, so that I'd asked him to do. And I was actually quite stunned by it, but I think it was her sort of telling me in a way that was supposed to intimidate me. And it was just so inappropriate. And so, as I said, that situation's gone on since October 2015. And I then continued to raise it with my manager, did not get a copy of his JD. So, everybody just supporting this inappropriate situation. In between, he changed managers, and this was probably about 2 months ago. And we'd agreed his new objectives, which everything was fine. Then I had a meeting with him maybe about 3 weeks ago and asked him to do various things. And he informed me that he wasn't going to be doing certain things anymore because he's being developed. And so he's going to hand those things over to the team apprentice. So I said to him, look, I'm now going to have to raise this because I'm not that it's an issue about him being developed. And I was very clear on that with him, but literally just that I have no idea what he's supposed to be doing, and it's just not on that, these conversations that are being had. And I wanted to be upfront with him because I didn't want him to actually feel like it was me having a go at him, but actually just, for me, it was much more about the communication and just not being in a position where I have no idea what kind of support I'm supposed to have. So after that meeting, I knew he didn't like it because I heard him wandering around the team, and I heard somebody claiming that used the word abuse, as if so. In other words, he was going on around the building or around my team, telling people that I was abusing him and undermining him. And I'd heard these conversations happening before, but no one had brought anything to me. So I'm just sort of taking this in, and I don't think he realised that I could actually hear him. So about 3 weeks ago, we had a one-to-one, and I was working from home, so I called him. And, just getting that sullenness and not doing what I've asked him to do or pretending that he doesn't understand. And so I just said to him, look, let's get to a stage where when I'm speaking to you, there's less of the attitude and that, we can just focus on getting on with the work. And so he sort of said, oh, well, it's not attitude. And I said, well, okay. So, and I just ran through exactly what I'd asked him to do. And then that call ended. I then started to get emails from his manager, his new line manager, saying that she wanted to meet me in the morning. And I was about to go on leave. So I said, and we were due to meet because I'd raised a query. I'd said to her I wanted to meet with her about his objectives because he had informed me that his new position or his new, they were developing him. So I'd already emailed to say, look, can we just sit down and discuss this? And he... so that's what I thought she wanted to meet about, and I was due to go on leave, so I said, look, it'll have to wait till I got back. And she kept emailing me saying, no, I need to meet with you tomorrow. So I said, well, definitely not meeting because I've got stuff that I need to finish off. So I went in the office the following day, and she walked up to my desk, and my manager, and I changed managers in between as well, but basically everybody was in the team, including my head of in the office, including my head of team, knowing that she was about to summons me to a meeting about this issue. And I'd said to her, look, I really don't appreciate you actually standing by my desk demanding my time. And so she said, oh, well, I need to speak to you. It's really urgent. So she pulled me into a room and said, oh, he came to her, said I was shouting at him. He was very upset, and that he had a witness. So she dragged me into a meeting and said, that he'd raised those accusations anyway. So I then raised the point that, look, I've been trying to get his JD for a year, and she said, well, we're just going to have to park the whole matter about his JD because this issue is serious. You need to understand this. And so I said, well, that's fine. If he wants to raise a complaint, he can do so because then I can just discuss everything else that's been going on for the last year that I've been raising with my manager. And so she said to me, oh, well, in that case, can you set out everything that has happened? And I informed her that I wouldn't be doing that because this female who is black is not my manager and she's not my grade. And the reason why I mention her colour is because I think it was done deliberately that she would present it to me as opposed to the actual management in the team, because it was totally inappropriate. It should have been my line manager. Anyway, to conclude this, for the last couple of weeks, they've been trying to move away from his accusation because I was, I think, supposed to cower in a corner. But I actually told them, no, let him make that complaint and then we will deal with all of the issues surrounding it. And I put that in writing out to them because they tried to call me into a meeting to then discuss his objectives, which was the point that I'd actually raised in the beginning. And I'd spoken to my union and said, no, let's let them take that forward. I met with my head of team on Monday, who was talking of sort of vaguely trying to imply that I was avoiding meetings, and I'd made clear no one had asked me to meet about his accusation. They were trying to call me into meetings to discuss his objectives, which I'd already made clear were irrelevant. And as far as I was concerned, for me, it's his accusation supersedes everything. So then she said, oh, I don't think he wants to make a complaint or make it formal, because I asked her, if that was going to be the case. And so how it's actually ended as of Monday was me actually saying, well, he will have to either make a formal complaint or withdraw his accusation, because that's my career and I'm not going to take it, I'm not going to allow someone to behave in that way. And essentially what they've realised is that if that goes formal, their behaviour will be subject to a lot more scrutiny than any accusation he could make against me. And I'm going to stop there, Gus.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, March 23rd, 2017. So I have been told. Paused for about 30 seconds to admire the cherry blossoms before we went on air. They are in, I don't think they're in full bloom yet, but they are certainly out. Good riddance to winter. This is our Thursday Workplace Racism Forum, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Very much looking forward to hearing from black people, non-white people in general. If you have commentary about your workplace experience, if you have figured out ways so that you get your promotions, you get your raise, you don't have any problems, no write-ups, no issues, you should be one of the first people to call in with suggestions. What to do, what not to do, so that you can remain unmolested as you advance your career. If you are self-employed, certainly you should dial in and let us know how being a black entrepreneur, how that changes your experience with racism, whites on the job. Policy and procedure is always welcome. If you've reviewed your policy and procedure, which all of us should be doing well in advance, that should be one of the first things within the first 2 weeks of you being on the job. Forbes, in fact, they recommend before you sign your name on the contract to accept a job, you have read and understand your policy and procedure manual. That's what they recommend, and I think that is sterling workplace codification. The number 641-715-3640. The code 564943 pound. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. The number again, 641-715-3640. The code is 564943 pound. Press star 6 if you would like to participate. The audio you heard at the beginning of the program one of our listeners from outside the States. Actually, she has participated in workplace racism before. She wrote in, if folks remember, some months back, she had the issue about going to get a package at work, and some of the looks and comments that whites said that she had to deal with in order to get her package, and just noticing how much attention white people focused on her at work. She had written in before, and we talked about that. But she had been persistently following up with Gus about ways to include non-white people who are outside the United States in the workplace racism program, which I've been thinking about as well. And I told her last week, I said, well, one way we could do it is that we could pre-record something. So that's what we did earlier today. She gave I think some great detail about some of the experiences, terrorism that she has experienced on the job. I think that is so important because, again, this is not a local issue. Racism, white supremacy is a worldwide problem. If you are non-white, particularly if you are a black person, white supremacy is going to be the dominant problem in your life, particularly on the job. Now, some of the things that I thought were really important about what she shared, white people undermining you, I think folks can relate to that worldwide. Even if you're self-employed, whites got to do something, got to find a way to mess this business opportunity up for this black person. See that, they don't advance, see that they have trouble. Not giving you information. We talk about that all the time. Can't even give you the person's job description. Like, are you serious? That's normally written down. Like, you don't even have to work for the company sometimes to find out, what the job duties are. Sometimes they'll have that sort of information posted publicly. Not answering questions. We talk about this all the time, having whites on jobs where they don't answer your question, will waste 30 minutes. We've talked about even strategies for dealing with that, having things in writing where you start submitting some of these questions via email, very concise emails where you get right to the 1 or 4 questions that you need answered. Then you have an electronic record of, I'm asking questions for job related information and they're not answering my question. I asked on January 23rd. I asked again on February 16th. I asked again on March. Right down the line. I also thought it was important not listening to black people. To have this white person say, hey, look here, nigger, I'm being trained, I'm moving on up, and I'm not going to be taking orders from you again. Make sure you remember that in the future. Tons of us have experienced that worldwide, and then going around and accusing her of being abusive. I don't like your tone. I don't like the way that you talk to me. You were intimidating and threatening. Then you have to defend yourself. I thought it was brilliant. I almost interrupted her during her recording that when they said, oh, well, we're not going to get that serious and do a formal investigation and look at other violations that may have taken place. We'll go ahead and just, which is water under the bridge, how they say it. And she said, well, if that's going to be the case, then I need that charge retracted. Brilliant, because I don't need anything on my record hinting or suggesting that I am not a top-notch quality employee. She said she was going to try and stay up late. It's 1 a.m. London time currently. She said she was going to try and stay up, Stacy, so that she could join us live. If she does, she will hop in, share a word. If folks have any comments or thoughts on what you heard, feel free. I also want to remind people you can email Gus untiljustice@gmail.com. If you email me, I can read your commentary on the air. If you have a question for any of the folks who dial in, if you have your own situation that you would like to share, feel free. Untiljustice@gmail.com. We can keep it anonymous. Okay, we had a number of folks again this week, which is great. Always love the commentary. A number of folks who wrote in. I'm going to see if I can balance my tea successfully and read a couple of these before I get to people on the line. So the first person wrote in, he talked about his wife last week on the program and some of the problems that she encountered on the job. So he's following up. This week he says, thank you for reading about my wife. She's very attractive and outgoing person. She, like many of us, can't believe white is equivalent to racist. She has white friends, which I've warned her about. Good husband. I think my house is on the same page now. And this was his wife was the educator. She got in trouble when I think the students stood up and gave like a black fist salute at the school, and the white people were furious and got her terminated from her position. Continuing, as for myself, I have a few incidents. The first incident involves a white male at a job site I frequent. I stopped for the white male to sign my paperwork, and he giggled, "Look at all these Mexicans." I made a stupid grin from ear to ear as I stared like a mannequin, eyes wide and focused. Yet, the grin was mischievous. He turned around. There I was, all grins and eye contact. He handed me the signed slip. As he began to say, "Have a nice," the truck window was up and my foot was on the accelerator. Incident number 2. At the same worksite, a white female asked, "Where's your green?" I stated, "I don't celebrate. I'm not Irish." She replied, "Well, neither am I. At least I don't." I have an idea how the sentence ended, but I was outside her presence at this time. Incident number 3. I've noticed my supervisor has a habit of sneaking up on me. He seems to approach me from behind or violently open the door of the truck while I'm conducting paperwork tasks. From further observations, he has a military tag on his personal vehicle. Therefore, he may be using ambush tactics on me. I now place myself where there are no backside attempts to startle me or horseplay. Secondly, while I'm in the vehicle, I lock the doors while conducting tasks. Like clockwork, he once again came to open the door while I was busy. The ambush failed. The door was locked, and he had to step back and wait upon me to open it at my leisure. I didn't join the military, but I know an ambush when I see one. Brilliant, brilliant. And it's sad. In my view, all of this is tragic, beyond tragic, that you have to think like this. On a job, I just signed up to work. I'm here, I'm on time. You ask me to take a 30-minute lunch break, I take 29. I'm working hard. I'm just trying to make a living, and I got to go through all this. I got to be plotting counterterrorism ambush strikes against me, just trying to sit in my vehicle and fill out paperwork? Psychopathic racial personality on display. That is brilliant, and I think that is outstanding. Just recognizing this correctly. This is military training. Ambushes. That's exactly what this is. And whites, they love this sort of thing with black people. And anyone out there, if you have difficulty perceiving the racism, the terrorism of this, can you imagine a black person on any job, particularly an office job, a construction job, like something we're supposed to take seriously? Can you imagine a black person making that a part of his daily job routine? Going around and sneaking up on white people, opening the door while they're in the car to startle them. Can you imagine? Next email. Person wrote in, I'm a non-white black male, and I work for a financial institution in a call center type environment. I'm the only black male in my department that consists of 5 white women, terror, and 1 white male. Our department is sectioned off from the rest of the call center, which employs a large number of non-white black people. Yesterday was what they call St. Patrick's Day. Part of my code is to come in, speak, and immediately put on my headphones. Depending on how I feel, I may or may not be on. The headphones may or may not be on. So about an hour into work, I'm sitting with my headphones in, but I can hear what people in my group are saying because they are in the aisle directly behind my cubicle. I just want to pause to give out a quick suggestion. If you do have headphones on in your work environment, I know some people listen to the C.O.W.S or other radio programs, I would definitely not have the volume up so high that you cannot hear what's happening around you. I think we've had a number of people, even the previous person who wrote in, being ambushed or whites plotting things around you. You still want to be able to hear and maybe even see what's happening around you, 360 degrees of what's happening around you. So don't have that volume up too high, as our caller just wrote in. Great idea, sir. Continuing. Mind you, this is a very small space that consists of 6 cubicles, 4 on one side and 2 on the other. So they start talking about who has on green and what not. One of the white women says, "Well, I'm Italian, so." Then another white woman goes, "I'm German." Then the white male goes, "It's all good, at least we're all European." Then a third white woman says, "Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day." That was my first observation. My second observation, I may need some help with a codified response. Apparently this month is also Employee Appreciation Month, so each week they have employee engagement activities. This week coming up, they have different themed days, like Favorite Pro Sports Team Day or College Spirit Day. I guess you're supposed to wear a t-shirt or hat that corresponds to your favorite team or college. Friday is Superhero Day. So my direct manager, white female, and the white female that sits directly across the aisle from me start to talk about the different themed days. The white female who sits directly across from me says we should all dress up like different superheroes next Friday as a group. That would be awesome. My manager agrees. The white lady asks me, "What are your superpowers?" My response was, "I don't know. I don't have any." She says, "Oh, I got it. You can be Uberman." I guess because I had previously mentioned that I used to do Uber part-time. I kind of laughed it off, which in hindsight was my first mistake. Then they proceeded to go around the group asking everyone who they wanted to be. I get back to work, not really thinking anything of it. About an hour or two later, my direct manager comes to my desk and says, "You can use this for your cape." Then proceeds to drop a package that looks like a paper tablecloth on my desk and walks away. She caught me off guard, so my mistake was not addressing it then. I have no intentions on wearing or participating in whatever they are planning. This was close to the end of the day, so I decided to address it the next time it comes up, which I assume will be sometime next week or at the latest Friday. What is the best codified way to decline participation in this activity? Since we are a small group and everyone else seems to be on board, I'm concerned they may accuse me of not being a team player and possibly start to change their demeanor towards me. Both of these instances happened yesterday, March 17th, 2017. Side note, I have been listening to the C.O.W.S since August, which is around the same time I was promoted to my current position. The program's been constructive in helping me deal with these suspected, now confirmed, racists. Right on. If folks have suggestions, there are the people that wrote in, but if people have suggestions on how they would respond with the whole superhero thing, I'm a big fan of Mr. Edward Williams and others who just said, I make it plain from the very beginning. I think Roz and others, I'm here to do my job. I'm not participating, particularly if this is supposed to be Employee Appreciation Month. Well, I appreciate just being able to come to my job and do my tasks and not have to engage in the extracurriculars. You don't have to say it in that blunt a manner, but I would just opt for, clarity. You can be super courteous, and I support you all participating in the day, but I just don't participate in this sort of thing. It's just not my interest, and I have no joy or wish desire to participate in this at all. So yeah, just to make that clear. And I think for all of us, because like you said, they catch you off guard with these sort of things. I do not go to my job as a black person, even when I was super confused and had white friends. Never in my wildest imagination would I think, oh yeah, I'm gonna, dress up as a superhero and go to, I have enough trouble with whites on the job as is. I just want to make sure I can get through my day peacefully. So I would opt for the direct route. Some people could say, hey, if you just want to participate and, go along and not have problems, I guess you could do that too. But I would just address it directly. That's great. I support you all doing it, but yeah, I'm just not interested in that and won't be wearing a costume or anything for whatever day that this goes down. And if then there will probably be some peer pressure. And, that's fine. You can take a few jokes if they want to say all that, but it's nothing to discuss. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm just not interested in participating. Thanks so much. I'll be here on Friday and look forward to seeing you all's costumes. Let's get back to it. Anywho, we will get to the folks who dialed in. Number again, 641-715-3640. The code is 564943. Pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. Folks who dialed in who have a hand up, line should be open. Feel free to dial in. I'll make sure that I get all the folks who dialed in who have a hand up as well.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Evening to you, Gus. Evening to all the callers on the line. This is Kendra. I would just like to share a racial showcasing situation that happened to me at the company I'm currently employed by. So every February, the company has an annual performance award that they give out to their quote-unquote highest achievers of the year. I ended up winning the presidential award, which is given to the employees the company deems who goes above and beyond what their normal duties call for. This award also comes with a $2,000 bonus. Why I say this award was given to me more on the side of racial showcasing is because there was some allegations by some of the non-white black employees who work in the warehouse that they didn't see advancement opportunities for themselves compared to other white employees. Specifically, there was a 22-year-old white man that was promoted into a mid-management position with only 5 months of employment by the company, when there were 3 other non-white black males who had been with the company longer. I think one had been there for a year, another year and a half, and I think the third guy had been there for 3 years. 2 out of the 3 haven't had management positions prior, and I've made it very, very clear that they were interested in, opportunities as it presented itself. It turned out that the white man who got the position, his best friend is the son of the director of operations. So how I came to learn what had been going on is because I'm pretty close to one of the warehouse managers. So he reached out to me to see if we in the sales department were, had any kind of discussions about what was going on with the incident, which we didn't, and we still haven't. Every Monday we have our district managers meeting, and nothing was ever said about this incident. There's nothing different that I've done in the role that's been given to me that I haven't done, in the last couple of years. The only thing different about 2016 is that I was asked to lead a new committee at work, but there's nothing extraordinary about the committee to give me the presidential award. I truly believe it was given to me to show the other non-white employees that the company is a just employee, especially with everything looming. I am the only non-white district manager in the whole company, so I really, really think they looked at it as an opportunity to show a mostly non-white, list of employees who actually work in the warehouse. I think the warehouse might be 90-something% non-white, just to show them that, we do give opportunities. So that's the story. Thank you.
Outstanding. I think that might be one of the first times that we've actually had someone dial in on the program and share that, yes, I think I'm being showcased on my job. That is outstanding. And what I say, I think Mr. Fuller has talked about this. If it happens, grand. Just understanding that I'm being showcased, that white people sometimes, it's worth the investment to look out on the plantation and say, oh, grab that Negro over there and, we'll give her $2,000 and, a nice shiny office. And then maybe at least some of these niggers won't think that things are so bad. They'll think things are pretty good, and looks like even some black people are calling shots and laying down the law on the plantation. That is an investment in the system of racism, and just understanding this is what it is. If you can, not that I recommend talking to black people about racism on the job. I do not, but I know some people do. If you have the ability, the people that have that courage to see if other people, just making sure they understand what this is, that white people are still in charge, grand. You take the funds and still realizing, hey, they can come in tomorrow and say, well, we're done showcasing you, you're out of here. This is going to be Bill. They do that too. So just understanding what it is. Other folks that have commentary, if you have suggestions, right? Because we had a couple people dialed in with suggestions. If you have suggestions, or if you would like to share your own situation, that is fine also. Feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Greetings, everyone. I thought the last caller's observation was interesting. Also, I have a question for her. Was there any reaction that took place, or did you observe any reaction from the other non-white people?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got quite a bit of emails. I try not to go to the warehouse too much. My job is pretty flexible where I can work at home on some days. But when I do, I make it a point I like interacting with the guys in the warehouse. I always have. So I got a lot of congratulations. Even one of the non-white victims who didn't get the position was more than qualified to. He even came up to me and congratulated me. I know Gus frowns on this, but I've had conversations with him about racism before. He's not as open about it, so it's not something that I could have brought up to him and go, hey, but do you know why, they gave this to me? But yes, I did get a reaction from some of them, yes.
Okay. I was just curious about it. I personally would give you the benefit of the doubt that you really deserved it, as far as that's concerned. But I also can see what you were explaining to us about the possibilities of you being I forgot the term
showcased
of being showcased. Because that possibility is always out there as long as we're under a global system of racist white supremacy. That's something that white people do. There was another caller a little bit back that was talking about what was that person? What was I'm trying to remember exactly what was the What was the caller before, Gus? That before the lady?
Kendra was our first caller that spoken. The audio clip was pre-recorded. That was Stacy. She's in London. When she was talking about the terrorism she's experienced. Okay, and then
the next person after her.
Okay, I read two different emails. We had the one person who was just going over black male, who was going over some of his experiences on the job with white people just making tacky comments about Mexicans and what have you. And then we had the black male who had the suggestion about, I guess, Superhero Day they were going to do, and he said he didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay. That's the one. That's the one I wanted to comment on that one. I would recommend speak directly to the subject. Don't waste any time on it, because, these things, this is one of the many strategies and tactics, tacky and trashy, and sometimes terroristic tactics that white people utilize, centered around these sneaky holidays that they have, that they drag onto the job. Because you sit down and think about it. But what does that have to do with me going to work? And literally that's it's much like what you see Mr. Trump does on a daily basis. He drags in something as opposed to with the idea in mind of diverting people's attention, and that's what white people do. They'll drag in some sort of holiday or some sort of made up faction and bring it on the job to distract you to comply, because they have a great strategies on how to always have the pulse of non-white people. What they're thinking is, are they actually thinking about practicing counter racism in the most proficient manner, or do we have them? Can I go to sleep tonight not worried about about their attitude and how it would be, and that's how they'll get you based on those questions, based on throwing that little paper cape down on the table and all that kind of stuff like that, and how you will react to it. And it's either speak directly to it or ignore it. You could ignore it, just totally ignore it and go about your business working. And also, at the same time, I will put a cap on being courteous and doing it. With me personally, I'll speak a little bit about my history, because there were so many layers that were already created before I got on the job that I was on, of racism and how it was basically allowed to go on. So I came on and at a short period of time was practicing counter racism boldly for the most part. So my reputation preceded me before I got to a place. So therefore, a lot of the things that I hear about, holidays and what you think about this and participating in it, they didn't come to me with that. They didn't come to me with that because they basically either thought they knew who I was or kind of like knew who I was. So they left me alone with it. But personally, I would, as far as the correct counter-racist procedure, I would speak directly to it in the most polite way as possible. But at the same time, I'm giving off that I'm directly serious about this to you or whoever that group is. And pretty soon they'll leave you alone. They'll leave you alone as far as that's concerned. Thank you.
I definitely encourage that. Just be direct to it and serious. And I've said before, develop a reputation for being serious on the job so that they know before that even comes around, hey, firefighter, we know he's not doing Halloween. We don't even need to go and include whatever shenanigans they cook up. They won't even come in your direct, or if they do, before you say no, just hear me out. You didn't let me explain. That's the way you want it to be. We don't even have to waste 5 seconds on all of this foolishness, because you know my personality. You know how I behave in the workplace. Other folks who dialed in, who have commentary, and again, we should not have a whole lot of spectators for the Thursday Workplace Racism broadcast. I am sure folks that are listening in, if you're not experiencing difficulties now, I'm sure you can reflect on your workplace history and look back and see segments where you had to deal with the racism on the job. Always good to share previous experiences and or things that are happening right now, whether it's you or other people on the job. You should be able to share a word. While folks are lollygagging, there was another person wrote in, see if I can get in as many of the written commentaries as I can. This person is also requesting, I guess, suggestions, counter-racist suggestions. Let's see. I have a question for Gus and the C.O.W.S participants. Knowing white people never miss an opportunity to practice racism, how do you feel about black people using LinkedIn? I've never used it and have concerns about all social media. I do not have Facebook or anything. The only thing I use is email accounts, and I'm somewhat leery about that. Do you recommend using LinkedIn? If yes, would you recommend posting a picture? This really concerns me. It seems to me that black people trying to get another position on the plantation, this could be hit or miss, but mainly a miss. Meaning if you get the interview without using LinkedIn and not posting a picture and show up to the interview black, whites can still practice racism on you on the spot. On the other hand, posting your picture online, my concern is you may not even get the chance to get an interview. That's their question. So, number one, do you recommend using LinkedIn? And then would you recommend posting a picture if you are going to use it? I think it's probably going to be one of those you have to probably, it might even be specific to your field as well as specific to just, what your view is in terms of counter racism and using these social media sites. I know some of our listeners, I know for a fact that they use LinkedIn because I've seen their pages and what have you. And they've sent their pages out with their information on it. And some of them, they have their picture up. Some of them do not. The only thing I could say is just I think the concerns are valid. I think there's a ton of evidence that any sort of, if it's a resume or any sort of app where they can be seeing a photograph of a black person, they being racist man, racist woman, whites, they can see a picture and it's a black person. Even things like Airbnb, they practice racism. There's tons of data on that. So that is a valid concern. Even if you don't post the picture, and we've even had guests who talked about this. Even if you post or you don't post a picture, right? So they just see the work that you've done and say, oh, okay, this is someone that we want to, hire, bring in for an interview. And then you get there and you're black. They could do that, but that sort of thing happens all the time anyway. That's one of those I might be leaning towards. Just go ahead and use it because in asking for a job, whites are going to practice racism anyway. A lot of the things that could happen as a result of posting information on LinkedIn could happen if you just go fill out, a hard copy resume someplace or submit your portfolio of work someplace. The same thing could happen. So I would say it's, at least just thinking about it right now, I don't see many differences in terms of just other ways of pursuing employment to go ahead and do it in terms of posting a photograph or not. Again, for some things, for some industries, like if you're in broadcasting or television, anything like that, you might have to put a photograph with your profile. So some industries that's going to be a requirement. For some, it won't be. Again, that's one you can, think on and come to your own conclusion about, if you want to use it at all to have a photo. But initially, I'd be leaning towards go ahead and use it. Racists, they're going to do what they do. If other folks have commentary on LinkedIn, use it, no, photo, yes, no, or some of the other folks that have written in how to deal with the Superhero Day, feel free. Other folks that we have not heard from at all, your line should be open. Feel free.
Greetings.
Can
I be heard?
Heard both of you. We'll get the female caller first.
Hi, I've been a long-time listener of the show. This is my first time calling in. My name is JD. I'm calling from New York. Hello?
Awesome to hear from you. First time caller. Thank you so much for dialing in. New York.
I had a couple things I wanted to talk about. In regards to the LinkedIn, it's funny that this was brought up tonight. I actually have a friend. He does marketing and sales. And initially, he was using his LinkedIn picture. And what he found was happening is that he was having these phone interviews where these people were really ecstatic about him. And they would look at his resume, they thought it was amazing, and then when he would refer them to his LinkedIn profile, all contact would cease. He's since taken his picture off because he noticed that his interviews were starting to go cold immediately after that, and now he's getting better feedback. I guess my counter-racist logic is that I know white supremacists are going to do whatever they're going to do anyway, but I would just try to get as far along as I could with the interview process for me personally. Unless it was absolutely essential, like you said, with maybe something like a broadcasting job, I would err on the side of probably not putting my picture up for specifically LinkedIn. And I also wanted to share an incident I had with a phone interview a couple weeks ago for a job. I'm actually looking for other work. The position was in New Jersey. The woman called me. I spoke with her on the phone. It's obvious from my resume I have a lot of experience, and I graduated from college some time ago based on my experience. And she asked me what my GPA was, which I thought was weird because that's something that's typical of what you ask, people that are fresh out of school that are, in the initial stages of looking for entry-level type positions. And I told her what my GPA was, and she was like, oh, well, that's a problem. Because, I actually couldn't remember. I was like, I guess a 2.8 or something. She was like, oh, we usually only deal with people that have a 3.0. And she was like, well, how are your math skills? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, don't you use Excel? I was like, do you do quadratic equations or something? She's like, oh, no, you just have to have good math skills. Yes, we use Excel. She was like, well, we can let your GPA pass, but I need for you to answer a math question for me. And she asked me a math question, and I was in shock. And she was like, oh, don't overthink it. I hung up the phone in her face, and I walked back to my desk because I was at my job when she called me. I just was like, you know what? She just has some nerve. I couldn't believe it. And obviously, and she's a white woman. And I was like, this woman really has some nerve. I think with the way the economy is, these white supremacists, along with a lot of other things going on, they're becoming very emboldened. And because they know we're so dependent on them for so much, they get really, really cocky in situations like job interviews and things like that, even more so. And also, too, I might share it at a later date. I used to have a catering job. It actually kind of put me in a financial bind because they were stealing our tips. And there was a lot of anti-sexual activity going on in that space with a lot of white people. I'll share a lot of experiences in regards to that job at another time. And I'll go ahead and mute my line.
Wow. Fascinating. You said is it JD? D is in domination from New York? Right on.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. First time caller. I think you've emailed me before. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Right on. Glad you were finally able to chime in live and share on workplace racism. Outstanding. And I'm sure folks will be looking forward to hearing that down the road. But that incompetence, that is worldwide, where they ask you all these sort of bizarre questions, and we got to make sure that you can recite the alphabet, and do you know your vowel? I mean, just absurd, and it's insulting just on top of that, but just reserved.
And that's exactly how I felt, Gus. I felt very insulted. And anyone who looks at my resume, you would know that I had a decade. I've been out of school for almost 20 years. Like, I just turned 40. Like, I was like, is this woman serious? Like, I didn't say anything because I was so, like, in shock. I was like, I don't believe what I'm hearing. And, I mean, I know we're in a system of white supremacy and anything is possible, and I try as much as I can not to be surprised, but it was disrespectful.
Yeah, designed to be so. And again, like I said, it is tragic. It's horrendous, and it's stressful to have to think. This is the way that you have to think, like, constantly. If you're dealing with whites, this is the way that you're going to have to think, and just to be on guard and to expect this sort of tacky behavior, rude comments, discourtesy, to just expect that, to be prepared for it. So that you're not shocked, you're not caught off guard. You already know this is what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for it, but this is what to expect in the system of white supremacy. That's, I say that all the time, and just the importance of that, because that happens so frequently where we just get caught off guard. The tackiness just, is stunning, even accepting that white supremacy exists and is real. The person that called in, I think last four digits, 8617. You spoke up simultaneously. Were you also going to share?
Yeah, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
All right. Greetings, Gus, and to the callers and listeners, participants, fellow victims of racism, white supremacy. This is actually my third time calling in. I'm Mark in North Carolina. And so I've been listening to the program since probably about January. I called in, I think it was last week, and I was mentioning the white female that had used the presentation that I had created. And so I had another thing that took place that I wanted to share. Okay. So yesterday, we had these weekly meetings at my place of employment. Or, no, it's every 2 weeks, actually, that we have these meetings. And so it's a check-in with our manager to just kind of go over our performance, how we're trending, how everything has been going so far, and just bringing up any issues that may be pertinent to the individual or, our role in the organization. I met with my manager, and one of the things that I've been doing as of lately is I've been really quiet and making every effort to just focus strictly on the job itself, because that's what I'm there for, and not really being social, and I definitely don't talk to white people as much as possible. So this is actually something that came up in the meeting And, everything started out, he, was asking me, and by the way, my manager is a white man, and he is also in a tragic arrangement, so cowbell. In the meeting, I went over my numbers and, we discussed everything in terms of, okay, well, your performance is this, and he put everything to the side. And he asked me, numbers aside, how are you? How is everything going? Every time that he tried to ask me a question about me personally, I deflected and went back to performance, because to me, that's the goal of the organization, is to perform in a certain manner to where our clients are satisfied, we're increasing the business, so on and so forth. And so I brought it back to performance, and then he, answered the question about performance and was like, okay, well, beyond that, he said something to the effect of, how are you? How is everything going? And, you're really quiet and reserved. And he talked about a time where I met him before I actually got the job, and this was probably a few years back, where they had a meet and greet for people that were looking to come on with the organization. And I met him there, and, I was a little bit more confused about racism, and I was kind of gung-ho and, oh, yes, and, my name is Mark, and blah, 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 and doing all of those types of things. And it was something that, it was kind of, I don't want to use any metaphors or anything like that, but it was something that I would say that's kind of like the entertainment committee. However, he went back to that time and he was like, I remember when I met you at the meet and greet, and, you were, I met you and you were nice, and, it was just, everything was just, I was really excited. And, it's kind of like, now that you're here, we just want to make sure the managers, he didn't say the managers verbatim, but he said, just want to make sure that you're with the program. So I kind of made that a mental note in the back of my head, with the program, like, what does that mean? And so, I continued to deflect in the meeting to the performance and everything, and, bringing to his attention anything that I had concerns about. And then at the end of the meeting, I asked him, what did he mean by with the program? He deflected and went back to the numbers, because he didn't tell me what that meant. Now, something that I pointed out specifically is that he said that he's boisterous and, he has a sense of humor and all these other things. And he says that he knows that I have a witty sense of humor. And he said that you're really quiet and reserved. And what struck me is that he said, it makes me nervous because I can't read you. So, also think that to a certain extent he has a white savior complex, because he emphasized to me in the meeting that, he's here to help me, my friend. If I have any questions, I can come to him, but I prefer to interact as less as possible. And if I have anything that I need to find out, I'll try to find it out myself. And then if I can't find it out, I'll go to someone else, including the manager. I just thought that it was really interesting. I don't know if anyone had any commentary on that, but thank you for letting me share.
Awesome. I think that is spectacular. Just words. What do you mean, get with the program? He can't even, we started out the program today with that. Can't even get that basic information. What is this person's job description? What do you mean? Particularly if I'm being accused of something. If I'm being accused of not getting with the program, well, what is the program? Let's spell that out, and then we can see where I'm going off the tracks. And they can't even do that. That's where,
and
go ahead.
And really quickly, I'm sorry. At the end of the meeting, I asked him, I said, well, have I done anything to give the impression that I'm not with the program? And he didn't answer yes or no. That's when he went back to the numbers. But before him mentioning the whole thing about with the program, he mentioned me being really quiet and reserved. So we weren't even talking about performance or any type of numbers or metrics or anything, because he already set that to the side. And then at the end, when I asked him, then he went back to the performance. And I was like, oh, okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that, I've said that consistently. Sometimes that's all you need. Just being able to ask questions. If you can ask the correct questions, sometimes you won't need to ask a whole lot. If you can ask the right questions, it will take things right back where they need to go. Oh, let's just get back to the numbers. Forget all that other stuff, which is all I want to talk about to begin with. It's super important, and the pattern. You see this so consistently where whites on the job in general are uncomfortable, nervous. It is a problem when black people are serious, quiet, not making a whole lot of noise, not like as you said, be in the entertainment committee. I'm not here to tell jokes. I'm not trying to be the next Chris Rock, victim of racism. I'm just here to do my job. That somehow is cause for white fear and anxiety. For that to consistently, that's for the last 8 years, we've heard that consistently from black people. And I've heard Mr. Fuller and Dr. Welsing talk about that as well, that is a problem on jobs, and we've talked about that as well. Strategies for dealing with it. This is because we've had this specifically where in some sort of review or quarterly or meeting with the supervisor, this will be the problem. You'll have great sterling numbers. I think our lovely black mother in Detroit, I think she has said the same thing. You're so quiet. Sterling reviews across the board, but you're so quiet. You're just so quiet. We just don't get to hear you say anything. That'll be the problem. Some of the suggestions as well that we've come back, make sure that you speak about work-related issues, so that you speak good morning, good evening, hi Ted, hi Bob, you speak to everyone, and questions about work-related activity. Always. That way you can say, oh yeah, I'm trying to learn as much as I can and help this company be a success, and bam, it goes right back to work-related topics. Other folks have commentary that they wanted to share, other people that we have not heard from at all who have a hand up. Line should be open. Feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Howdy doody, everybody. It's Ken Steele, and I'm in Orange County at the moment. And I just wanted to respond to the caller earlier who asked about whether or not your LinkedIn profile picture makes a difference. I'll say this: recruiters are probably taking a glance at your profile picture, but from what I've been able to observe, most of the discrimination happens simply with the name. The name is what really signals people. Now, hiring managers, I will say, from what I've observed, they will oftentimes not take a look at the LinkedIn profile unless directed to do so. So unless if you're saying, hey, I want you to look at my LinkedIn, here's a link to my LinkedIn, oftentimes you're not going to, it's not going to come up. The race of the individual, however, recently came up, or it didn't come up explicitly in some business that I did recently, but a situation definitely arose my suspicion. I presented a candidate to a tech firm in New York, and this candidate indicated to me, this candidate was a victim of racism, and they indicated to me that their current place was, the culture there was, I guess, less than hospitable. She was encountering what she detected, what she reported to be racism on her job, and that was something that, that did not surprise me. It's something that's fairly consistent, or that is consistent, that I've seen regularly when doing this work. And the client that I'm working with, I presented a number of candidates, but this client wanted to speak with this particular candidate out of all of the candidates that I presented. And I'm suspecting that this candidate that I presented may be a victim of racism. And the way that this person was communicating with me about their desire to speak with this particular candidate. I suspect it's a white supremacist male, and I don't know, it just made me very uncomfortable how eager he was to see this particular candidate. Did not make any mention about why this particular candidate stood out, but was just so eager. And I don't know, I felt, I didn't really feel too good about it. I mean, this person is very gung-ho about getting this candidate through the process, which is always a good sign for just as a functional purpose, but I don't know if I'm going to be helping by putting this victim of racism in another environment where I suspect racism will be placed on her. So that's one situation where I suspect this person saw the name. I suspect the person went to the LinkedIn, saw that it was a victim of racism, and said, hey, I want that. I want to hire this person. And, damn everything else. That's the impression that I was given by the way that this person is interacting with me. And I don't suspect that this is for good, for positive or constructive purposes. So, my job, I was reminded of a quote that Neely Fuller said, and it was something to the effect of, the job is racism, or racism is the job. And, I just, after that interaction, I just had to take a step back from my computer and just kind of shake my head for a little bit. I'm not going to lie, that made me feel really, really bad. Also, I too have been getting the same comments about you're not participating enough, or the phrase that's being used on me is buying in. They keep on asking me, have you bought in? Are you bought into the program? Are you bought in? And I mean, I asked them, what do you mean by this? Because I've changed my clothes, I show up extremely early, I leave later than most of my colleagues. I've put up decent numbers. There's some process issues that I may have, but I don't know if anybody is following, these processes one by one verbatim, as per the company emails that seem to change the process weekly. So I don't know anybody who's doing that perfectly, but I too am getting the same comments of, we hired you, we brought you on to lighten up the mood or to liven things up. And I've changed my clothes recently, and I've seen some benefit to that. Some people are saying, hey, nice clothes or something like that, or and that's something that I've seen. But one thing that was interesting that I guess played into, that seemed to satisfy them, was that one of my colleagues asked me a direct question about, hey, are there Ruby on Rails candidates in this particular geography? And I happen to be working a lot of Ruby on Rails jobs in this particular geography. And I responded to them kind of sarcastically, and this is off code, but I said, absolutely not. There are no Ruby on Rails jobs, or there are no Ruby on Rails candidates. I would not go into that territory. And I said that, kind of jokingly, and my colleagues heard this. And, they said, one of them said, hey, you have, like 40 candidates. I know you have, 40 qualified candidates in this area alone. And I said, all right, I was just joking. And then, the person that asked the question, they laughed and everybody laughed. And then they said, see, Ken, we kind of gotten you to lighten up. We got some life out of you. So maybe giving bad instructions is something that they like. That's something that they've indicated to me. Maybe that's buying in, but I don't know. I'm still very confused. And even when I keep on asking more questions, they seem to get angrier at the fact that I'm still asking these very fundamental questions, all the while eluding or not giving out any sort of answers. And with that, I guess I'll mute my line. Thank you.
That's again, I just say, hey, ask questions. I know you had called in before about the pants situation, and seems like you got that corrected with the pajama jeans. And moving forward, I mean, they will try to make it some issue if you are a black person, particularly if you're just going in, staying quiet. I do my job. They're going to try to make that an issue. Always good to have your counter-racist code, and asking questions should be an integral aspect of that. But have your counter-racist code for how you neutralize that threat. I see some of the other folks who dialed in with a hand up, but at 2:15 a.m., Stacy, who did the introduction for us, is with us live. Are you with us, Stacy? Oh.
I guess I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Your volume is a little low. If you could speak up, that would be excellent.
I guess can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
The time difference is it's 1:14 here in the morning, so that's why I think I joined you late.
Oh, that's they don't move the clocks up at the same time. That I'm still struggling with that. It's now a 7-hour time difference between the UK and the US. I don't think you all moved the clocks up until when do you all move the clocks up for spring?
I think it's either this weekend or next weekend. It happens automatically on my phone, so I never pay any attention. But yeah, I think it's either this weekend or next weekend. So that's thrown me.
Oh, me too.
It's 1:15 right now.
Me too. I have made that error twice now in the last week or so with coordinating some of the broadcasts with our international participants. But thankfully, that problem will be resolved within either this weekend or next weekend. Then it'll be back to the normal 8-hour time difference between London and myself being on Pacific time. But either way, 1:15 London time. Stacy is joining us live. She did the introduction where she talked about some of her own difficulties, which we've heard replicated from some of our listeners. Did you have a live word you wanted to share since you've been with us?
I've only literally just joined, but it's I guess just very briefly. So to say I didn't hear if people had any responses or questions to my situation, but just to say that experience in terms of being quiet, we share those experiences too, and people judging you. I mean, in my instance, it would be because of probably being more involved and then, in quotes, withdrawing. And actually not in the beginning withdrawing because I felt that people were treating me unfairly. There were just other things going on which made me withdraw, and it becoming a progressive issue. So definitely we share those experiences in the UK as well. But I can't remember the exact line that the caller used, but he talked about being told, not being with the programme. I had a similar experience as well where I was told, you don't understand how it is. I won't explain the scenario because I've already taken up a lot of time, but just to say, don't ignore that, because effectively somebody is telling you there is a system and you need to pay attention to the program or how it is, so that's confirmation. It's not just us as non-white people imagining that there is a system. You're being told there is a system, and that will come back in some way, shape or form. But that's all I had to say. But happy to respond if anybody had any questions in my scenario. And Gus, were you able to lobby?
I did. I mentioned your effort about the program and seeing if we could do something for making it easier for international folks to participate. The only ideas that I had that I shared with Stacy were we could move the program up 1 hour. That would be 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We could do that, and that would, when they move the clocks up next week and it's back to the 8-hour time difference, that would make it midnight instead of 1 a.m. for the start time of the program for folks in the UK. And we could rotate the book club to Thursday and do workplace racism on Friday. That way our international listeners it would be easier for them to stay up late on a Friday night, where at least some of them might not have to work, might not have to get up early Saturday. We could do that. If that would be easier to facilitate, we'd have to get feedback from states, listeners in the states, to see how they would feel about that change, or if folks have any other ideas for accommodating black people who do not live in the states, because it's a pretty substantial time difference. Some of the other folks who we have not heard from at all, if you want to share your own commentary on workplace racism, or if you have questions for any of the folks who have shared thus far. I think JD in New York, Mr. Ken Steele, we have Miss Stacy joining us live from London, and the other folks who've already shared. If you have commentary or things you would like to share, feel free. The folks we have not heard from at all.
Gus, can I ask a question if possible?
Is this Kendra?
Yes.
Just give me 1 second to nab some of our callers really quick, and then I'll rotate back to get your question.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody that we missed completely have commentary that they want to get in?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Greetings to you, the hosts, the callers, and the listeners. I wanted to give a little commentary about just some of the workplace racism I've experienced. So I play at churches, and I do real estate, but my time at churches has been particularly interesting. When I was younger, at maybe 16, I started playing at this large white church. It's actually the largest white church in the city, and I just wanted to play. Then I left, and then I came back when I was 22. Well, anyway, when I came back, it was really interesting because when I told them my name, I'm reintroducing myself to a new group of people, whatever. And I'm telling the musicians my name, the musicians and the singers, whatever. And then they start whispering to each other, and I'm trying to hear what they're whispering about. And what it sounds like they're whispering about is my last name. It sounded like they were trying to determine which plantation I had come from, which white people I belonged to, that my group of black people belonged to. And that was really aggravating. The reason why it was so it was so angering is because they know more about me than I do. They know which tribe, like seriously, they know which tribes we come from. The Native American tribes, they know which ones we come from. They know which African tribes we come from. They know which slaves owned us. They know our whole bloodline, and they keep all that stuff secret. But it was just really interesting. It was just really interesting them starting to conversate amongst themselves about my name, as if they knew quite a bit more than I did. That was interesting. The other thing that was interesting is because it was a very large white church. I'm just looking at the people, and it was just so many. It was just so many white faces, and just looking at them and understanding, these are all my enemies, but I'm still having to entertain them. I'm still having to make them pop their head or whatever, with the music or whatever. But that was what I was wanting to say, and just remind people to oppose white people in every way possible so we can end the system. All right, thank you.
The religion of white supremacy on display. Wow. And for sure, white people are not ignorant about racism. Always grand to emphasize that on the broadcast. Other folks that we have not heard from at all, if you have a hand up, proceed.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Gus. All the listeners. I called a couple of weeks ago. I was the guy that was on the boat with those all those white terrorists. I was, and right now I'm working right here in my hometown of Jacksonville. I work for a vendor. For a vendor company, And I was delivering to a gas station, and when I walked in, I always speak to everybody. Nobody ever speaks back. It's a gas station with mostly white employees, but a black manager who she's a victim, so she treats me a certain way too. And one of those ladies came up and she referred to me. I have a tag on my shirt, but instead of calling me what she saw, on my shirt, she said, "Come on, call me by my company's name." And I said, "Well, my name's Carl." She was like, "Well," she's like, "Freedom." She's like, "You call me by my company's name again." Like I didn't say, "Well, I'm gonna call you by your company's name." And I said, well, and so I said, "Okay, well," and then I called her by her company's name. And then I said, "But you know what, really, what's that say on your shirt?" I say, I prefer to call you that. So, you know what I'm saying? And then she was like, "Well," and so the rest of the way while I had to deal with her while she was receiving my product, she decided she just preferred not to call me anything, just no name. And that was that situation. I have another situation where at the same company where my daughter was getting ready to graduate high school, and I went to my manager. Well, I told him this was like maybe a month before she was getting ready to graduate. I went to my manager and told him that my daughter's getting ready to graduate high school. Can you make sure I'm not scheduled to work? And I gave him the exact date, time, and everything. And he was like, "Well, if you're scheduled to work, you're gonna have to be at work." And I was like, you can't work the schedule. He was like, "Why you want to take off for that?" And then one time I had to work with him, and we worked like in my truck solo together. We did what they call it a work with, and he just decided to start asking me questions like, so asked me how old was I when I had my child, for me to have a child graduating high school, and I looked at, it was like he was trying to get me to say something to him, or, because I'm making good money and I don't want to, but he's just like he was trying to pull something out of me, you know what I mean? And he say, why does everybody want to take off for all of these birthdays and all of this stuff like this? When we talk about my daughter graduation, and this white guy is just like he's totally trying to miss the point. Yeah, and that was that situation. And I got one last situation where I was asking about my pay situation, and it was like I get paid like a set amount, and then plus overtime, what they call overtime, which is like a Chinese overtime, where you don't make as much as you don't get actually time and a half, and like the more you work, the less money you make per hour. And I was letting them know that I had worked a lot of hours, and that next day, if I work that next day, I'll be coming in basically working for free. And my manager gonna say, "Well, Carl, at least you get a paycheck." Her face turned so red when she said that, and she started trying to laugh it off. And I guess she was waiting on me to laugh. I just stared, just looked at her, and I was like, "All right." And I just left the office. And yeah, those are my workplace situations for this week. Yeah, my job. I like on my job. I want to call in more, but I have to get up at 3 a.m. to be to work, and I just got like crazy hours. Sometimes I work from 3 a.m. to 5 p.m, so, I have crazy hours, and it's hard for me to call in and participate, but I be wanting to call in on Saturdays to the compensatory call in, but my plantation, they be on me. I'm always at work. 14-hour days a lot of times. But that's it. Thank you, Gus, for letting me speak.
That right there, system of white supremacy, having, these just ridiculous work hours and schedule. Just, I think even one of our listeners last week wrote in about that, where they would have training that would start really, really early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning before bus service runs. That's just another way that they disrupt our time and energy. What was the first example that you touched on, sir?
About the clerk that wouldn't, or the lady that was receiving my product at a gas station, she wouldn't refer to me by my name.
Exactly. With that situation, and you said that the manager is a victim of racism, although everybody there, you said, was kind of rude to you, which is to be expected. That right. Situation, we've had Mr. Williams on and others who have, they've said their code is United Independence, so everybody you pick, what's best for you. But they've said in those type of situations, their code, they make an effort. Even if the person, if they say, let's just say that Acme, we'll say that's who you work for. They say, hey, Acme, come on to the back, Acme. We got, you can put it right over here. Even then, they're not calling you by your name if you ask them, hey, my name is not Acme. I have a name tag on. My name is Kevin. All right, Acme, come on now. Let's, we don't need all the lip, Acme. Just put, even then, I'm still going to be courteous. Even then, I'm not going to name call you and that sort of thing. Mr. Williams actually wrote an incident in his book about that specifically, discourteous conduct from a black person that we work with that, and even in fact, challenging us on black self-respect, because I think Dr. Welsing might co-sign on this one. Black self-respect would challenge us even then. If it's a black person, I'm still going to be courteous. That doesn't mean that you are someone I'm in love with or anything else, but just I'm still going to be courteous and keep it moving. I don't have to go out of my way to please this person, but I'm still going to be courteous. I'm not even going to name call you. That is a challenge that some people put out, and certainly you do not have to abide by that way of functioning. Now, the other examples that you touched on, Chinese OT, they have codified the racism, white supremacy in the language. That is how systematic their abuse is and long running. That we're going to have these non-white people overworked, grueling hours, toxic work environment, and we're going to pay them as little as we possibly can. And we're going to codify it in the way that we talk about the compensation process. Where you put in advance notice, you give them the date and time. Congratulations for your daughter's academic success. It's not, right on, Kevin. Great job. Go be a father. Go take care of your child. It's what, nigga? What are you wasting time for that for? Anyway, you need to be in here working. We're not giving you a day off to go and, participate in that sort of foolishness. Now, if you had ignored your daughter's birthday, then it would be, you're a deadbeat dad, and that's exactly what niggas do, and they don't take care of it. Can't win. Try to do what you're supposed to do, and we're still going to make it as difficult as possible for you to work and go home and take care, value your children. When you commented at the end, I can weave in one of our listeners who wrote in and then get Kendra's question. One of our listeners wrote in today, this is hours before you shared, when you said that the white woman, when you went in, hey, I'm working what you call Chinese OT. If I come in tomorrow, I'll basically be working for free because I've worked so many hours, 14-hour days and all of that. And this white person said, hey, at least you got a paycheck. And you said she turned red. Now, this person wrote in today and said, are you familiar with the red face test? I wasn't until very recently. I'm a black female, and I work at a medical research company where my immediate coworkers are 90% white. I began to notice this phrase being used at my workplace in the last several weeks. I had never heard it before. I had never heard this before either, the person wrote this in. White people at my workplace seem to use it often of late. For example, they say, would that pass the red face test? Or, I don't think that would pass the red face test. Or, if you do that, could you pass the red face test? I generally heard it used in large meetings where the white people are discussing strategy. So far, I have been the only non-white person in these meetings, and they never direct the question or statements to me. They are directed at other white people. I quickly understood the meaning of this metaphor and decided not to ask the white people who said it what they meant or why they used that term instead of, would that be embarrassing? I'd like your view and listeners' view on what would you do if white people on the job constantly use this phrase. Have you heard this phrase? Note, I am simply making a mental note of it and have not decided whether it would be constructive to ask a white person what they mean, and why don't they simply say what they mean and discard the metaphor. Right on time. Context of white supremacy. I had not heard this metaphor before. Just from hearing it, reading it, the context of how it was presented, to me it sounds like if I am doing something that is deceptive, would this pass the quote-unquote red face test? Meaning, am I going to be able to say this and not laugh or give away some visual cue that this person is being deceived, that there's something about this that you don't know that is to your disadvantage, and I'm having a hard time even saying this in front of you without it being revealed because of my melanin deficiency. That's what it sounds like to me, that I'm lying to somebody and it's such an egregious lie, I might not even be able to lie to them without giving away some clues. That's what it sounds like to me, and that might be what they mean when they say, when they use this phrase, but I hadn't heard it before. Maybe that's not what they mean. The person that just wrote in and just gave us such a wonderful lead up to that email. What do you, I guess, given the example that you just shared about the woman turning red after she said, hey, at least you got a paycheck. It doesn't matter that you're not getting paid tomorrow for working 14 hours, but at least you got a paycheck. What do you make of her turning red in light of the email that was just written in?
Listening to that letter, I know that I guess you can say, using a metaphor, she turned like a devil red. You know what I mean? Like a demon. She knew she was deceiving me, and she knew she was saying something that wasn't correct, so she turned red. You know what I mean? But you got some people that I guess they can hold their blush back to where they won't turn red when they say something, no matter how egregious it is. That's how I see it.
Interesting. I'm trying to nab some of the other people. The caller, I guess you might have dialed in on the vote line. I'm trying to open your lineup, Shay. It's I think I got it. Let's see. Okay. If your line is open, feel free, and then I'll get Kendra's question.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is the lady that called in last week about the terrorism that I've been going through at my job.
They were making the bang bang noises behind you. Is that you?
Yes.
Oh, right on.
And I was just calling to give an update of what's been going on. So, I did change seats. However, I do notice that that some of the coworkers are kind of close to me still. They're not exactly right next to me like they were, but they're still kind of close. So I'm still not really satisfied about that. I don't know. I'm just really thinking about finding another job. I just don't get a good feeling about going to work there anymore.
What do you when you talked with us last week? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
No.
Oh, okay. When you spoke with us last week, they were going to do an investigation. You had reported that they had been being discourteous, making bang noises around you, where you felt terrorized by your colleagues, and they were going to investigate to see if this was merited. And they had offered to move your seat. You just said that I guess they did move your seat, but they didn't really move you very far. That you're still kind of close to some of these people. Did they conclude the investigation?
No, I haven't heard anything back about it. And the manager that I told, I don't know, I just see her joking sometimes with some of these coworkers, and I just feel like she really doesn't care. It seems like she's kind of I don't know, she just seems like she likes them, and I don't think she really wants them to get in trouble or anything like that.
Is it, I guess one aspect, is it possible to request, since a part of this was, let's move you to a different area so you can continue your work. They moved you, but not very far. Is it possible to ask to get a location that's, a little bit further removed from some of the folks that have been accused?
Yeah, I can ask her, but I don't know. I'm just really thinking about finding something else. I'm just really not happy going there anymore.
Oh, I understand and support that 1,000%. And I think I had mentioned that when we spoke about this either last week or when you first wrote in about the situation, because I think that's how white supremacy works as well. A lot of times we get stuck in these toxic situations. We realize the situation is not healthy for us, and we might not have ever even intended this to be a long-term employment situation. And then we end up being there for 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even longer. So I definitely encourage, update the resume and see if you can find something that's a little healthier. But just in the interim, while you're still there, just anything that you can do to mitigate things. Because you don't want to I think it's as much as we can to try to minimize the toxicity and abuse while you're still there, even if that's going to be, hopefully that'll be a short period of time. But even if that's 2 weeks, try to have as little mistreatment in those 2 weeks as we can, if that makes sense.
Yes, I'm going to see if I can ask her if she can move my seat further away from them until I find something else.
Were you able to get time off as well? Because I know we spoke about that last week also, getting some time for mental health.
Yes, I was able to get a few days off. I requested it to my manager, and he kind of just had an attitude about it in a way like, you should be here. I just feel like he really doesn't care about my needs at all. Like I was telling you before, I see her joking with these same coworkers, and I don't know.
That lets you know a lot about the environment that you're in, which I think some of that at least we addressed last week, that just this does not sound like an environment that's going to be conducive to you staying there long range and being productive and being able to do great work. To just look at it as a temporary situation and really be active about finding a better and healthier situation, because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of room to improve things if this is what you're dealing with, and the people that you would need to remedy the situation are in cahoots. It just doesn't sound like it's going to improve too much.
Yeah, I just really don't think it's going to improve.
Definitely. I'm glad you got those days off, and that's the sort of thing I think is important too when we're in these sort of situations and we're being abused on the job, to make sure that we get mental health days and do things that are going to boost boost ourselves spiritually, mentally, physically, do things that are constructive, and just having time to get more rest, because a lot of times these things can be so draining. I think Stacy talked about that as well in the introduction, but just doing things that are going to nourish us, that are going to replenish us, so that we can continue to deal with just the daily barrage against us that we're dealing with on the job. Were you able to check into any sort of recording device, or if you don't think that's going to help your needs, then that's fine too. But were you able to look in anything to record any future comments that they might make?
Yes, I'm looking into that. I wasn't sure where to order that device at.
Man, you can go to Amazon.com. I don't know if you do any online shopping, but you can go to Amazon.com and just put in voice recorder or audio recorder or MP3 recorder, and you'll see a bunch of options right there. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but if you saw something and you wanted to get it today, you'd probably have it by early next week, maybe even sooner, depending on the shipping options. But that's one. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but the audio recorders are so common now. You could probably go to a Best Buy or something like that in your area, Target, a store like that, and you could probably purchase it there. I'm sure there are other websites as well where you could purchase it, but I know those are at least some of the options that should be easily accessible, where you could get it in. And again, for not a lot of money, they're pretty cheap. Many of the recorders that would be able to help out maybe.
Okay, thank you for those suggestions.
For sure. I know it's stressful. Just really take care of yourself as best you can. Do things that are going to boost your self-esteem, things that you enjoy. Really important. One of the ways that this wears on us, just the stress, it really takes your life energy from you having to deal with all of the stress from this. Let's see, other folks that dialed in that we haven't heard from before I get to you all. Kendra waited patiently. Did you want to go ahead and get your question in?
Gus, I can wait. I have no problems waiting. You can go on to the next person. I can wait.
Oh, right on. Thank you for the patience. Other folks that we have not heard from, if you dialed in with the hand up, line should be open. If you have suggestions, either the female caller that just dialed in that's in the toxic situation, if you had suggestions for her, Stacy, black female in London with the situation she talked about, the male caller who's having, I guess, the superhero dress up day, folks have suggestions of that, or should we use LinkedIn? And if we are going to use it, do we want to put a photo up? Folks have questions to any of those issues, or if you have your own situation you want to address, feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Greetings, beautiful people. This is Emmy. Should we use LinkedIn? I think I kind of agree with Gus on this one. It might depend on your profession. I currently do not have a LinkedIn, but I will also admit that I'm not really that much of a professional, like say a dentist or something like that. I think if you are a professional, LinkedIn can be a benefit to you. But if you're just someone who's kind of like been working and you have different jobs and stuff like that, I don't really see it being that helpful. Because I don't think it includes anything that your resume does not. And then if it's just a matter of keeping tabs, like professional tabs on networks that you've made, you can easily do that with a business card and a business card holder. Like I did that. Like I have all the business cards of people who, I made connections with so that we're not following each other's lives and stuff like that. Would I include a picture? Again, it depends. Like if I'm a certified pharmacist, perhaps. If I'm a therapist, maybe, but if I'm just the front desk attendant, no. For the woman that just spoke, I'm glad you checked back in. I was wondering how things worked out. Good job for you for making steps and figuring out another place to be. What I'm going to say next might sound slightly weird if you're not kind of into that kind of thing, but I am. So I have an affirmation that I wrote for myself. I'm not going to share my personal affirmation, but I do think that affirmations can help a little bit just because it helps to reprogram the mind and to adjust our thinking so that we feel perhaps a little differently about our situation and how we can deal with the situation, because it still sounds, and I know it's very hard and traumatizing and terrorizing, but something that you can just say to yourself, and kind of get your mind out of feeling so heavy about it. And even if it's about how you plan to move forward, the affirmation doesn't have to be with you kind of accepting the situation. It could be something that supports you getting out of this situation. So it's I'm better than this. I'm better than this. I'm about to rock this and move on. So that it's something that's short and you can say it I'm too flat for this, however you want to do it. It could be more professional. It doesn't have to sound like that. But maybe that's something that could help. I used it with an individual that I supported. She was having difficulty with something. And we made an affirmation for her. And every morning we would repeat it and until she felt really good. And then she would have a good day. So it worked for her. It works for me. I'll pass it along to you and anyone else who's listening. Maybe it'll work for you, just to help you kind of get through the situation. To the Miss Stacy, I think her name is, you just said that we listened to the recording. I think that you handled that situation quite well, very well, actually. I was like, yes. It's a question. I think you were on the line. I'm not sure if you're still on the line. I know it's really late where you are. Maybe you said it and I might have missed it. So if so, I do apologize. But when you requested that the accusation be retracted, did you request it in writing? And if so, did they give it to you? Because now that, that would make me chuckle. That would be really like fly. Like he had to actually put a formal retraction on that you could have with his signature and everything like that. Like that'd be dope. For the Superman stuff, no, like absolutely not. And just say no. Like these white people, you know, they're just doing the most. And, we just got to be like, no, and deal with them not liking us or whatever is going to come from that. But that doesn't have anything to do with work. And I think it was really tacky to take a tablecloth, or I think is what you said it was, like some kind of thing, and just like drop it on your desk. Oh no. Like if you don't nip it in the bud now, things could just get like kind of out of hand just a little bit. Like it could get worse. So no, absolutely no. Who else? There was another man who spoke. I'm sorry that I'm drawing a blank at this moment. But I think I commented on some of the things that I wanted to comment on. Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things. This is Emmy. I'm the one in the DMV area. I do the overnight concierge work, and a white male has been trying to terrorize me. And I told you all last week that when he walks past my desk again with his grumbling and mumbling and trying to make me feel some type of way, I'm just going to do the exact same thing back to him. And I also told you all that it's not necessarily the most professional thing. I don't know if Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing would really appreciate that, but I had to do it because it was making me shake. It was making me sick. I didn't like it. He has the same schedule and he's terroristic, and the way that he talks, like all of that. And so the only way I really can feel like I can combat it is to just give it right back to him. Like that's a pill I cannot swallow. So he walked past the desk, and I can see him coming in the reflection of the glass because it's dark outside, so I can see him coming. And he's one of those white people who need to feel his alleged superiority. So I purposefully withhold my attention. My two responses, very codified for whatever white people have at the job, is, do you need help or do you need something, and how can I help you? That's it. Don't talk to me about anything else. That is all I'm saying ever. They can come in drunk and be like, woo, that was a great night. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, are you listening? I'm like, do you need something? No? All right, keep it moving. So anyway, with him, same thing. I'm not acknowledging. I'm not speaking. Like, I'm not doing that. It's the overnight. I'm tired. So anyway, it's like 6:30 in the morning. I see him in the reflection. He's coming. I don't look at him. He gets upset, throws his hands up, starts mumbling, oh, Jesus Christ, and all this other kind of stuff. So I did the exact same thing. I felt better. Yes, it's petty, but I did it. So this weekend, if he does it again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. For the guy who wanted to stand really close to me, the TA in my math class, we really haven't had that much interaction, so I haven't had an opportunity to really practice my counter racist jujitsu and get him to back off with my words and say, like, hey, too close, back up. But my nonverbals must have been doing something, because anytime he hasn't been that close. Like, he's been nice and far away. So when it does happen, I will share with you all. A white woman tried me, and I'm not like, a genius or anything like that. So I do a lot of extra practice in math so that I can be good at it. So I spend an hour working problems. So there's another young black female in the class who, she's rubbing the teacher the wrong way. So what? And so we were in class, and she tried to refer to her as that girl. But it was like, that's that code. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's written, it doesn't sound bad. But if they say it, you know what they're saying. So I noted that. And I was like, racist, ding, 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 ding. You were a suspect. You're confirmed now. Whatever. I'm going to get all the information I need from you and keep it moving. So I didn't say anything to her because I don't need to. I love the, hidden observational stance. That's kind of where I like to be because I'm still learning a lot. So unless I really have to confront something, I'd like to just watch. So I did. So I now know about her. The last and final thing that I wanted to say, and I would kind of appreciate some feedback because now I'm not really sure how I feel about it, but I'll share. So I had to do a pre-application for med school. So I had to do it like I was really applying, even though I'm not. It was an assignment. So I decided, I made this up in my mind a long time ago, that I would like to be like Dr. Welsing, in the sense that she was able to speak about racism and own that. That's what she did. I don't want to have to hide. I'm tired of hiding, and it's making me sick. So it took me some time to get a definition of racism, or have an outlet where I could speak openly and all these things, to make it so that I could be constructive and effective when talking about racism, instead of just a lot of emotional stuff. So I'm reaching a space where I can do that. I want that to be how I live my life all the time. So I made up my mind that when I was going back to school, that I'm not hiding. So when I wrote my personal statement, I didn't hide. So I submitted it. And today I had my review. I sat down. The man, I think, is Indian. So the only two people who are going to review it are both non-white. There's a black female and an Indian male. So I got the Indian male to review my application. And he said, and I talk about that. I talk about Dr. Welsing in the personal statement. I talk about being black. I talk about not really knowing or thinking that I was, really smart enough to do something like medical school, or no one ever, I was not a math person. I was more like an artsy person. So it was totally different. It's a complete career change. I'm committed to helping black people. I talk about all of that. And so, of course, that's what he doesn't like about my personal statement. And so at one point he's like, well, you want to talk about helping all of humanity, not, and then he got caught, and I was like, black people. He was like, yeah. And I was like, and so there was a lot of other positive points, about our conversation and stuff like that. So, I understand where he's coming from. I wrote it that way because I could, you know what I'm saying? This isn't me actually applying to school, but I wanted to see what it would feel like. I wanted to see what someone would say to me, and that's what he said, which I knew. And I wasn't kill Whitey or something like that. I didn't write that in my, that's not my stance. So in the personal statement. So, but then he said at some point that I was dramatic and lofty, which is what the point that I'm about to ask you all about. Because I opened by saying, my intention, I want to become a doctor and research specifically healing modalities, new technologies, create frameworks that address the specific needs of non-white, specifically black people, as it relates to medicine and healthcare and overall just well-being. And that he said that was dramatic and lofty, and that I needed to be meek and humble, modest, is what he said. Because he said he had a love-hate relationship with the personal statement. So, I walked away feeling good, because his nonverbals indicated that, other than him feeling some type of way about me talking about racism, I'm solid. But then at the same time, then I started to question, someone was like, well, maybe he doesn't feel like you as a black female or black person at all should be thinking that big. You're supposed to be smaller. Because it's funny, because in the class, the whole time they're saying you have to shine in your personal statement. If you don't shine, you don't get an interview. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saying exactly what I intend to do. And now it was an issue. I mean, there may not be a whole lot of time to comment, but I just wanted, if y'all had something to say, what would you think? Do you think that, because I know we're all non-white, but I really feel like being black is the worst of all the non-whites. And I feel like some other non-whites look down at blacks, and it might have been even that. Maybe I shouldn't have been that way with him. Not to say that I would change it, but just, I don't know. It was on my mind. So, all right. Thank you all for listening.
Most interesting. We're on piano speakerphone effect. Okay. I thought it was interesting, your application, I guess the faux application for med school. It's very common. I think any sort of research proposal that is explicitly focused on black people. I think Calvin Thomas, he was a guest on our program, and he wrote about his views on racism. He's written several books at this point. But in his first book, he said that it's you cannot have an organization that is designed specifically to help black people. That's against the rules. It's got to be about as humanity, everybody. It can't just be this is about helping black people. That's another one of the ways that racism, white supremacy works, that you cannot be exclusively about helping black people. I know Dr. Welsing, I think she's talked about this on the program before, and Dr. Umar, that, and I think even Dr. Baruti, in saying that they encourage, and even I know Dr. Umar, I think not only does he say he encouraged, he talked about it from his personal experience in saying going through school, he tried to, be out front about his stance on white supremacy and bringing it up in class and research and all that. And he said on this program, it just made his journey to get his doctorate much more difficult than it needed to be, and almost made him want to drop out completely and not finish. So he said if he had to do over, he would not do that. He would just get, his piece of paper and then go and be publicly and out front with his stance and his views. And I suspect Dr. Welsing, I'm pretty sure, in fact, she kind of spoke to that before, and I totally appreciate and respect the, not wanting to hide, like, this is my view, and wanting to do what Dr. Welsing did. I suspect she might recommend waiting until after you have all the certificates that you're going to need from whites, and then go ahead and be out front, be bold, and put your name, as we say, stand by your work to replace white supremacy with justice, because that's something to be proud of, if that makes sense.
It does. Gus, can I say one quick thing?
Mm-hmm.
I actually brought that up to him, and I could tell, it was very interesting in the class. It's more of a lecture class, so there's no communication. So what he was all prepared to tell me was all of these really stupid things. He didn't even have any real constructive feedback, and I felt cheated a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Here's an opportunity. I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear other people's, but he said that when he said that whole humanity thing, I said, well, at any other point, all other people are able to have, you can be a doctor and say you want to specialize in baby cancer. You know what I'm saying? Something real specific. I know that's probably not the best way to say it, but or women who have fissures, vaginal fissures or something like that. You can be so specific. What's wrong with being, and I said this, why can't I just be specific, general, non-white people, specifically black people? And he really didn't have an answer for me. And I was just okay. I mean, it didn't catch me off guard. I knew exactly what to expect. But I mean, even in an environment like this where the whole idea is to help people, and all of these people all semester long have been so frustrated because they're always talking about third world this. They even still say third world. And I'm excuse me? And so anyway, and they're all talking about it, how they go to all these places in the world to help the niggas. And I can't even say that's who I want to help because it's me. So yeah, I was the conversation was professional. But yeah, I walked away just thank you for sharing that with me about Dr. Umar and Dr. Welsing. I don't mind. I mean, I've been doing it this long. I guess I'll just keep playing the game. Then when I get out, they can't touch me. I'm kidding about that. I know that they can. That was a joke. I know it's still racism, but okay. Thank you.
Indeed. Before I nab, if other folks, if you want to respond to that question or any other queries that we have for different responses, we'll get that. I just want to include two of our letters that were written in. First up, we have our young listener in the Bay Area. He is a teenager in school, black male. He shared repeatedly, has called in and shared as well. He wrote, in our Black Student Union, we have been discussing the use of the word nigger. We said that it has been tracked back to all different parts of history, especially slavery and life before the Civil Rights Movement. We talked about how it's used among black people and is usually uttered by white people who know they are not supposed to say it. One person said that black people use the word to reclaim their position in life and history. Another person argued that no one should even be using it in the first place. We will be talking about different stereotypes used among black people in our next meeting and how that is placed in the rest of the world. And that's all he wanted to share for this week. That will be interesting for next week because it's different stereotypes used among black people. Sounds like whoever is organizing this meeting and topics, they have shifted the focus from white people. White people are responsible for all of these quote-unquote stereotypes to begin with. Racists are responsible. Next letter, person wrote in, So this is a follow-up. This is the same caller who wrote in with the issue about the, I guess, supervisor saying for the Hero Day, you can wear this tablecloth as a cape. So they gave us a follow-up. About the events my job had planned, in particular, my particular department wanting me to participate by dressing up. I'm working and I hear my team at the back of our area near my manager's cubicle. I can't really hear what they are saying. One of my teammates, white female, comes to my cubicle and says, "Hey, Kevin, come on back to pick out a design for your t-shirt." I get up and as we are walking to the back, I say to the female, "It's okay because I'm not going to participate." She says, "Oh, why not?" This is the conversation we had on the way back, which is only a short distance, maybe 10 feet. So by the time we get to my manager's cubicle, she says, "What's wrong?" I say, "Nothing. I'm just not going to participate." She says, "Are you sure? I already bought you a t-shirt." I said, "I'm sure. I'm just not comfortable with that, but you guys go ahead and don't mind me." This was all said in front of my manager, the white female who came to get me, and another white female who was sitting in the cubicle. There was kind of an awkward silence. Then I walked back to my desk. Now this t-shirt thing is today for Team Spirit Day. This is in addition to the Superhero Day cape they wanted me to wear this Friday. Oh, these are two separate incidents where you're supposed to. I thought this was a part of the same deal. They got 2 different days of costumes. Okay, continuing. Today, literally about 2 hours ago, they are all getting their t-shirts together. These people literally brought an iron to work to iron on decals and phrases onto the shirts. I'm working per usual, and one of the white females says, "Kevin, where's your shirt?" I say, "I'm good." She goes, "Well, I'm good too." That's not a valid excuse. I just ignored her and went back to work. A+. This whole situation just reinforced how much white supremacists like to waste your time. They spent the entire morning making these t-shirts. I don't see any constructive value in these frivolous activities, but they are all looking at me like I'm not a team player. Unbelievable. Believe it, in the system of white supremacy and wasting your time. Man, white people are phenomenal. That is one of the key ways that racists function, getting non-white people, particularly black people, to waste our time and or only invest our time in doing things that strengthen racism. And if you're a black person wasting time, you are helping whites keep their foot on black people's neck. Now, any of the other folks dialed in, if you have commentary, questions about what we've heard thus far, if you have your own situation you would like to address, line should be open. Feel free.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to offer a suggestion in regards to the woman that was being harassed at work with the whole bang bang thing, which is just absolutely awful. I actually have a friend. Her job environment was so stressful, it was causing her health issues. What I actually was going to suggest to her is her maybe going to the doctor, and if there's anything out of the ordinary with like her blood pressure or something, I actually would get the doctor to write a note, and until she can find another job, I would take advantage of the Family and Medical Leave Act, and when she needs to take time off or if she comes in late, it's not something that could be reversed, that could be used against her. I actually was going to suggest that to her. Also, another thing I was going to suggest to her, I think that what M.A. said about the affirmations is great. I would take that to another level. I know she said she has earbuds in her ear. During the course of the day when I'm actually at work, I listen to a variety of different things, from podcasts to, people like Les Brown, things of that sort. And what I was going to say, maybe she could create a musical playlist of songs that are positive, like, the Isley Brothers and India Ari, and just have them like on a continual loop along with her podcast and whatever else, because, just like repeating something can have a positive effect, like saying it, listening to things that have a positive effect, that can affect your subconscious in a positive way too. And I think that could possibly be helpful to her. I also wanted to say, too, in regards to her coworkers sound a little off. I might take things to the next level till I could get out of there. I know you guys have referenced the tactical pens before. She needs to get one for just in case she leaves the building and watch her surroundings. I also would invest in some pepper spray, and she can get those things from Amazon.
Absolutely.
And because I'm very concerned. If someone is emboldened enough to know you're within earshot and say something like bang, bang, I don't think it's something to be taken lightly. I mean, I understand we have to do what we have to do, and you kind of bounce around from one plantation to the next, but, like, I mean, she just really needs to be careful. It definitely sounds like her job is not going to take it seriously. The third thing I wanted to say, and then I'll mute my line, is that I actually have a job interview tomorrow. I met with a recruiter this morning that saw something that was the right fit for me. He sent them my resume, and by early this afternoon, he said he wanted me to come into the interview, so I'm going into my regular job late tomorrow. I've decided my codified way of handling things when I take on that job, it's tied to doing staffing. My codified way of handling things at that job, if I can help it, anybody who is a non-white black person, I'm actually going to staff them first. Anybody who is non-white but not black will be staffed second. And anybody who is white will be the bottom of the trash heap, so to speak. That's the codified way I'm going to go about doing that job if I actually get it. I've decided that'll be my codified way and way of practicing black self-respect if, I get that job, because I will be handling staffing. And I'll mute my line.
Awesome. I want to get Kendra's question, but I just want to, maybe you can take a second to think about it before the program ends. In case, because it's been my experience. I almost had a sound clip of a white person who has a suit filed alleging reverse discrimination. Do you have a code in place in case they try to accuse you and say, hey, man, you all, hired this nigger woman here and she's, giving all the jobs to the dark people and, she's hiring white people last. If you have a code in place so that you can say, nope, I'm just, fitting best match with the job. I'm going to come back to you to get your response. Kendra, did you want to ask your question?
Yes, Gus, thank you. First of all, to JD, I think that sounds amazing. Hopefully you do have the opportunity to be able to do that. I actually had a question for Stacy and one also for JD about her comment earlier. I was interested in knowing what was the position she interviewed for that the interviewer asked her about math or whatever. Was it like a math-related position, or I'm kind of a little bit confused, or was it just a general position and she just happened to ask about math? And also, if the interviewer ended up calling her back when she hung up.
Actually, the position was at a mortgage company, and it wasn't anything special. It was just for a admin assistant, and actually I found out through talking to her on the phone before I hung up on her. It sounded like a entry-level admin assistant position. I'm still perplexed as to why you would need to do math, because everyone knows with Excel now you do formulas. So you just hit sum and you get the totals and you do pivot tables, and it's just predicated upon what you key in. So you don't, and we have calculators. I mean, we're not in the age of the abacus. So, I just felt like she was practicing racism and being very disrespectful.
Got it. All right, cool. Thank you. To Stacy, if she is still awake, I had a question. If she shares any of her views on racism with any of her non-white black colleagues, and if so, what has been the response? And if not, pretty sure I can imagine why not, but if not, I was also interested in finding out why that is.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I can hear you.
Do I? Yes, but not to everyone. And I guess I don't, well, to the people that I do speak to, there is an acknowledgement of racism, but they may not necessarily respond in the way that people on this program are responding. So they're never in denial. I know they're acknowledging that there's stuff happening, and some people have obviously had their own experiences, but I don't necessarily speak to anyone in the organisation about racism for the same reasons that you wouldn't. So yes, but very cautiously.
Got it.
Yeah. Gus, do you want me to respond to Emma's question as well?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think the question was, have I asked for his written response in writing? Not yet. So I had my meeting with my head of team on Monday. So tomorrow I will be working from home, where I can get a lot of things done, including putting everything in writing back to her. I'm not actually going to explicitly ask for his, although I might do, I need to think about that now. But explicitly, I wasn't intending to explicitly ask for his response in writing. But what I was aiming for is for her, in me putting it back to her in writing, was to have a record of that conversation. Because at one part in the conversation, she actually asked me if there was anything that I could do differently. And I asked her, did he actually put in a complaint? And eventually she said no. And so when she had asked me if there was anything I could do differently, I asked her the question, are you saying that I actually did it? Because I don't see how I can be asked, if he hasn't complained formally, there's not been an investigation, why is she asking me if I could do anything differently? So she quickly corrected herself. So the aim for me, and this goes back to Gus's point about use of time and energy. So a lot of the time when I'm thinking about how I respond to things, I take my time now as opposed to being reactive in the immediate situation. But my aim is to make sure that the three people in management who have been encouraging this behaviour also acknowledge what the implications are for them. Because they've encouraged it, they're pretty much behind it. And also a lot of the reaction now is because they realise that if I formalise my complaint, which is what I'm really considering, then there will be implications for them. And that's why they're trying to make this go away. But I kind of want him to put the complaint in and make it formal, quite frankly, because then it saves me some paperwork. And again, this goes to time and energy. So hopefully that's a good response to your question. Hello?
Thank you.
Right on, Emmy answered her question. Well, I was going to nab our other folks that we have not heard from, but I just want to remind folks, do not lollygag. If you have commentary, do not wait until the last minute. If you either have a question or if you want to respond to any of the questions that have been posed, and there are a number of them now, go ahead, dial in, get your hand up. The number 641-715-3640. The code 564943 pound. Press star 6 if you would like to participate.
Gus,
yes,
ma'am. Can I respond to the LinkedIn question?
Oh, sure.
I didn't actually hear all of it, but I'm assuming the person is asking about whether or not they should put their picture there.
Should we use it at all? The concerns that either racist, if they go to your LinkedIn page, you might get an interview or what have you, and then if they find out you're a black person, they will discontinue, or if you put your picture up, they'll see it immediately and immediately discard. So do we use it at all? And then if you are going to use it, do you include a picture?
I guess if they are going to practice racism, then they're going to practice racism whether you're on LinkedIn or not, because at some point you will have to be at that interview. And if your colour is going to be an issue, it's going to be an issue at interview stage. So that's, in my view, in terms of putting your picture up. I actually only recently put my picture on LinkedIn for the same reasons. Well, in fact, no, in the beginning it was just that I didn't have a picture I liked, and I've had LinkedIn for years, and then it wasn't a tool that I used very often. I tend to use it more now. But so yes, I do use it, but what I've done recently, because I am trying to diversify and move away from where I work now, I was connected to people in my job, or people who know people in my job. So recently I went through an editing process where I just blocked people who either work with the, or even if they weren't direct connections, I blocked them so they wouldn't be able to view my profile, and also then people who know people that I know as far as I can. So that way, if you do use it, you use it in a very codified way. So hopefully that's helpful.
Absolutely. Use it in a codified manner if you are going to use it. I know, for some fields you gotta use a photo and all that. So depending on some fields, it might not be much of a question, might be a requirement, but be codified if you're going to use it. The caller at last four digits 5771. Did you have commentary?
Yes, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
All right. Greetings, Gus. Greetings to all the callers and listeners. I normally don't call workplace racism, but I just had to share this experience I had this week. I work as a administrator, systems administrator at a predominantly district, black children in this district in the suburbs of Chicago. And this week I was sent to a summit, a technology leadership summit. The director of the district was a white lady, said she couldn't go because she had a meeting. So she sent me there. All right. So this technology leadership summit was at a school in the suburbs of Chicago, predominantly white. And it was interesting because during this all-day summit, one of our agendas was to tour the school to see how technology is working in the classroom. So I got a really, really good experience. Well, I say that as a joke in regards to having an experience. But so we go into the first class we go into is a language arts class where the students are actually reading To Kill a Mockingbird. So they were going over. For anybody who's read To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch is one of the main characters in it. So they were going over his closing argument. So yeah. So they went over a line that he spoke where it says that this case is particularly black and white. Now, they were learning about figurative and literal speak. So when the teacher asked about figurative speech, they said, well, basically black and white is about race. So when they said literal, one of the students got up and was like, well, when they meant literal, they meant that, it was a right and wrong case where white is right and black is wrong. And, I was like, okay. So that was the response of one of the white children there. We go into a social studies class, and somebody's doing a presentation on the Montgomery bus boycott movement. So, I guess they were studying the civil rights movement. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So after the presentation was over, the teacher asked the students to get onto their laptops and vote between the Montgomery boycott movement and Rosa Parks. So, I asked the teacher, like, oh, what's going on? What are you voting for? Well, apparently, they're doing some kind of bracket about the civil rights era where I guess they took these different events in the civil rights movement, like the Freedom Riders, the Selma March, and they were sitting there voting on which one made an impact. So I was like, wow. So they just made our history a whole game here. So I thought that was interesting. And then the last one, they had us in a Spanish class. And so one of the white children, male, he had a book on his desk. And it looked like one of those books that, like that. Basically, it's like a book that I think you can buy out of one of the art stores where, you could write into it. Basically, kind of like write a story within the book and do something with the cover. On the cover of his book was the title, "Educating a Slave." So I went up to the white boy and was like, "Oh, this is an interesting book. What? Can I look at it?" And he was like, "Sure." I'm looking at it, and basically it's a story about a slave master educating a slave. So I asked him, I was like, "Is this an assignment that you have to do?" He was like, "Yeah, it was I guess it was in a language arts class that he was doing, and they're supposed to write a story, and that was his story. A slave master educating his slave." So, the first thing I thought about after that experience is, what you always say, racist man, racist woman, racist child. This was in a middle school. I thought I just had to share that. I mean, they're training them in the schools early, so just letting you guys know. That's all for me. I will mute my line.
Fascinating. They do not sound ignorant about racism, in particular the literal translation of To Kill a Mockingbird, that Harper Lee's Kill a Mockingbird, that this book is literally about. White is right. I would agree emphatically, and I think it's super important. I don't know how they teach that book now, but since the follow-up, Go Tell a Watchman, has come out by Harper Lee, and it was confirmed what I said from the first book, that even Atticus Finch is racist, yes, gets confirmed in the follow-up. I don't know if that's how they teach it now, that yes, even the good white man in this book is racist, which is confirmed in the sequel. Other folks who chimed in, who have a hand up, actually, I will get in our last email, at least for right now, so we will have covered all the folks who wrote in. This is from one of our listeners in Wisconsin, black female. She said, "My daughter works for a Target store that has a Starbucks inside Seattle. She mostly works in the Starbucks, but sometimes cashiers for Target. As an incentive for signing a customer up for a red card, the manager, who is white, gave her a coupon for a free Starbucks drink. My daughter gets free drinks anyways when she works in Starbucks, so giving her a coupon for a free drink didn't make sense. She said thanks sarcastically and continued working." That is racist man, racist woman. Will call themselves giving you something that you already have. Sometimes they'll be giving you things that they took from you to begin with. Other folks have commentary that they would like to share. Feel free. Again, please do not wait till the last minute.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Regarding the question, should you use LinkedIn? The reality is, what Emmy said earlier has some truth to it. If you are a professional, you can benefit tremendously from having a presence on LinkedIn. If you aren't, and if you are just doing temp work, or if you are in a mode of employment that you're not in I guess in a skilled setting, then oftentimes, yeah, you may not benefit from it. But the reality is, increasingly, more and more employers are utilizing different online services to find talent. So to have a presence on LinkedIn is kind of necessary if you're going to participate in the job market in a meaningful way going forward. And this is for all areas of employment. Even automotive professionals are utilizing online services to find talent. So somebody is going to be entering a Boolean search, that is a search with specific parameters selected, to find your resume. And if you want to be in a position to go into a certain field or be competitive in a field that you're already in, it pays to have a presence on LinkedIn. Also, you just want to park your identity on these services anyway before somebody else parks your identity, uses your photos, uses your information, and then pretends to be you. This has happened to me on a number of occasions, on a number of services that I did not sign up for. So it could easily happen to you. Also, for the photo, one of the things that you can do on LinkedIn, one of the benefits is that you write your own LinkedIn, and you can make your LinkedIn look as good or as bad as you want it to look. So you can have the most, you can have nicely taken headshots done at basically anybody who has a digital SLR and a white background or a black background can take a photo of you that looks good enough for LinkedIn. Or if you have a photo of yourself participating in a hobby, those are also really good photos. My LinkedIn has a photo of myself golfing. I don't golf. That was that photo of me on LinkedIn was taken years ago, and that was the only time I've ever been golfing. I don't even know the first thing about golfing, but I look really, really good in that photo. And I have hiring managers asking me questions about golf and, you know, trying to relate to me on that level regularly. And, you know, I kind of brush those comments off, but, you know, the picture has the effect that I wanted it to have. So you can do that for yourself on LinkedIn. Like someone said earlier, if you're going to use LinkedIn, use it in a codified manner. Learn best practices for resume writing and put that resume on there and make that resume look as good as it can possibly look. And be attentive to what you see in the job descriptions that you are looking at and that pique your interest, and make your work history reflect somebody that, you know, would be competitive for that role. So that's what I would say about that. And then also, if you are going to not be on LinkedIn, understand that you're not going to be available for certain jobs. So if you want to experience a jump in salary, you can easily see what the next role in your profession is requiring, and you can make your LinkedIn look like that, and you can enjoy a healthy bump in salary. It happens all the time. Just don't be afraid. You're already cataloged, serialized, and tracked. Your purchases are tracked. Everything is tracked. Your cell phone is tracked. So, you know, just, you know, what you're not really doing a really good job of hiding by not being on LinkedIn. So if you're, it's better to be on there than not. And that's what I'll say for now. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Mr. Steele. Last about 25 minutes or so left in the program. If you have commentary again, you should speak up now. I did also want to share, and this actually came from someone who is a non-white person who is self-employed, as they call it. Racism, white supremacy apparently was still a problem. At least that's my suspicion, because this person, self-employed, they were partnered with other entities, other people, and there ended up being some financial discrepancies where a suspected race soldier was involved. And he kept making requests, non-white person kept making requests saying, you know, well, hey, let's just have a face-to-face. We can all sit down, we can go over the records, and, you know, we can resolve the whole issue. And they kept having to ask. White person was being difficult. And at least a small contributing factor was the fact that the non-white person in this situation had receipts where they were trying to get compensation in agreement with what everyone had, you know, signed on to at the beginning of the process. and the non-white person had misplaced the receipts that were a part of what they were trying to get compensation for. And so what they learned in the process was working with receipts in the future to having a better code for where they keep their receipts so that they do not lose them, and immediately taking a photograph of the receipt with your phone, and that way you'll have it, and you can just make a whole folder on Dropbox or iCloud or wherever. You can just have a whole folder with all of the receipts that way. So even if there should be some sort of disaster or calamity and you lose the hard copy, you'll have great photo. You'll have pics of all of the receipts, and they'll be stored online. And then you can just share the whole folder that way. If you're working with a lot of receipts, you can just take pics immediately, and then you can email them to everybody, so that is never an issue. So that everybody immediately has a copy of whatever it is you spent, and then they'll have it unless they delete the email. Everybody will have it. You can duplicate it, print it out as many times as you need. I thought that would be something that some folks might be able to appreciate, utilize as well. Other commentary, or if anyone wanted to respond to any of the other, seems like there are a plethora of different questions on the table. Any other commentary folks want to get in?
Oh, also, can I be heard real quick?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Emmy also asked a question regarding how she should go about, I guess, during her path to getting a doctorate. People with more experience than I have in navigating these channels, they have indicated that it may be best to play the game of sorts, but I think it was really constructive what you did at this juncture, just to learn about what people are going to immediately say. And one thing that I think you may be interested in trying to do is learn how to talk about Black people specifically and unambiguously in medical terms. There are, I have a good friend who is in medical school right now, and she has reported that there is a tremendous amount of racist activity that is going on in the training of medical professionals in this country. And it is going to be a challenge for you to be very, aware of this and operating going forward, and understand that when you are advocating for Black people, at every single turn you are going to be met with resistance, and it's going to be seen as a hostile act. But think about it like this: when white medical professionals want to deal with issues that just affect white people, they will talk about medical issues that just affect white people, or primarily affect white people, like skin cancer, melanoma, or they'll talk about Down syndrome, or if they want it, there are specific illnesses that are associated with Eastern Europeans that are classified as Jewish, and they'll talk about those. They want to specifically talk about Jewish people. So learn some of the, medical terminology that's acceptable to refer to Black people, so that I guess that you can operate in plain sight, so to speak, without having to arouse the knee-jerk reaction that you're going to get when you say, I want to help Black people, because that's nails on the chalkboard to most people in this system of white supremacy, unfortunately.
That's actually really good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right on. Other folks have any commentary they wanted to get in? Stacy, are you still hanging in with us live from London, nearing 3 a.m. there, I suspect?
I'm still here.
Still hanging in. Outstanding.
Can I respond on that as well? Because I thought that was really good, and I think that's useful too. Actually, I responded without giving you a chance to say yes or no, Gus. Is that all right if I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really helpful, actually, and it's something that can be applied in many other fields, because I think, certainly in terms of where I work, there are challenges there, and actually I think that's quite a strategic way of acting going forward. So I will think about that as well. But one thing I did want to say to Emma, actually, because I think when she was talking about her application, I almost got the sense that she had started to internalize some of the, I guess, subtext of what was being said to her as well. And I guess it was just to say, from my perspective, don't, because that is also part of the agenda to make you second guess yourself. And it's so easy for us to do that, and slowly but surely that's what ends up, grinding you down and making you lose confidence in yourself. He gave you a good critique about your application. His comment about being lofty was about your goals rather than necessarily the quality of your work. And, effectively he's saying you're above your station. So, I guess my feedback there is just don't internalize it, because that's where we start to second guess ourselves, and, we get distracted from our ambitions. And the last thing I'll say, just on the LinkedIn thing, actually one good thing about LinkedIn for me, because I haven't been applying for jobs for many, many years, and it's only recently now that I've got back into applying for jobs, and because of the organisation that I work for, it usually gives you a premium anyway in the job market. But as I said, I hadn't been applying for jobs, and so I spent a couple of months updating my LinkedIn profile, and I had been applying for jobs and not getting very far and not understanding why. And it's only when I started to be approached by recruiters that I actually realised that I'd just been completely applying for jobs that were not at the right grade, because you will get people headhunt you on LinkedIn. Now, whether or not you want to waste your time responding to every single recruiter that will approach you and ask you to apply for a job is another matter altogether. But the level of the jobs are director level. And I guess because of everything that's gone on in terms of, again, being undermined and all those other things, I just wouldn't have even attempted to apply for certain jobs at certain levels. And so for me, that told me a lot about my marketability, if that's the right word. And so again, that's where LinkedIn has become of benefit for me, and certainly it means I don't need to waste my time applying for jobs that I probably wouldn't get because my CV is almost too strong, if that makes sense. So hopefully that's useful to people as well.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Oftentimes people, there are different levels to every profession out there. And if your story that presents on your LinkedIn doesn't match the level that you are applying to, you may easily price yourself out. You may skill set yourself out. Say if you're trying to be a developer, for instance, there are junior developers, there are mid developers, there are lead developers, and then there are architects. If you're an architect or a C-level, a CTO or a chief technical officer, for instance, and you're applying for a mid-developer position, people are going to be asking, why are you doing this? Hey, don't even consider them. Your pay that you reported on a resume or a survey that you filled out before might show up on that, and the recruiter is going to say, hey, I'm not even going to steal this. This is out of the range. This is not a good fit. Nix on the resume. And that's how you are easily too strong for a position. So pay very close attention to the level of job that you're going for, and make sure that your LinkedIn or your resume matches the skill sets and has even some of the same language as the jobs that you're applying for. That way you get selected in searches, and that way you get contacted for phone screens, and then your interview skills come into play. So that's the way that goes there.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I wanted to say in regards to MA, I don't think there was anything wrong with what she said, and that's probably because I'm black. I think with things like that, maybe she's going to have to be more codified in the way she presents it. I would say if you're going the medical route track, based on the research I've done, because I have a certificate in plant-based nutrition that I got in September from Cornell University that I actually want to try to turn into a business to help our people, I would focus on going towards the track of practicing, stating somehow in my mission statement and what I want to accomplish, being a doctor of functional medicine, which essentially means that you are trying to treat people in a way holistically so it doesn't manifest into a larger problem later that will require surgery or pharmaceutical drugs. And I would promote it more from that perspective. So from her perspective on the inside, she'll know that'll be primarily to help black people. But to her white professors, you know, it won't necessarily get a side eye or seem quite as intimidating. I think ultimately if you know what you want to do and how it is going to help our people, you know, we don't always have to make that known to people that are, you know, non-white, that aren't black, or even white people. And that's all I wanted to say.
I dig that. Even some black people don't need to know what your objective is.
Indeed.
Other folks have commentary that they would like to share. I feel like we had so many questions that came up, or at least people asking for different suggestions on how they would handle situations. If you wanted to respond to any of the queries that have been raised, if you had anything you want to touch on before in the last few minutes before we wrap up, you should speak up now.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I might have missed something. Thank you to everyone who gave me some feedback. I do appreciate that because I was having some mixed feelings, and I guess it'll be time to kind of morph and put on another phase for a little bit longer, so that I can get what I need. So I do thank everyone. There was a man who spoke about attending something for his daughter, and the company said no. Did he actually end up doing whatever it was he wanted to do for his daughter, or did he end up not being able to do it?
I'm not sure if he's
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, it was his daughter's graduation, if I remember correctly, where he had put in.
Man, the graduation?
Mm-hmm. Where he put in time and everything, and like, oh, what is everybody taking, days off for all this silliness? And he said, the white guy responded, if you're still with us, sir, if you want to dial back in and ask you to let us know whether or not you were able to attend your daughter's graduation, that would be appreciated. Yeah, he said he had 14-hour days, so that might have been. I think he said he normally is not even able to participate during our live broadcast of workplace racism because of his 14-hour days of trauma with his job. So he might have had to. Duty may have been calling him back. If you hear the archive, sir, maybe you can update us or write us and let us know next week whether or not you were able to attend your daughter's graduation.
And also, if you work for free, that's illegal. I did remember hearing something about that. I don't know if that was like a joke or that's like hyperbole, but if that's fact and you have to come in even for an hour or two and you don't get paid and it's not your business, that's illegal. So, I mean, I'm not the best with all of the policies and laws and stuff, but I'm sure that's in violation of something, and you should not be doing that at all. Like, that's just bad. I wish I had like a better suggestion other than like look into that and figure out like something about that, because that's not correct. You're not supposed to do anything that you don't get paid for.
Chinese overtime, I think is the term he used. Hang on one second, Mr. Steele, the retired firefighter. Did you have a question or comment you were going to get in, sir?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Greetings. I was attempting to get on, but I guess I was got knocked off the line. I thought it was interesting enough to respond to about the idea of putting on your resume, Miss Emmy. Is that correct?
It is me if you're talking about the one who wrote the draft.
Okay, right. Yes, ma'am. Well, what comes to my mind is the racist white supremacists. The reason why the system of racist white supremacy is a challenge to counter is because, logically speaking, to me, they know what correctness is. They know, but they make the choice not to do the correct things. So I say that to say that any non-white person that mentions about attempting to apply justice in this world, they already know that is something that we're going to attempt to do, and it actually doesn't need to be said. From my point of view, Dr. Welsing, even after being a physician in a full-time job, was displaced from her job simply because of a book that she wrote. Dr. Johnson, as I think I heard Gus mention, had a hard time getting his certifications and credentials. Specifically, I remember participating on the program when he mentioned that. The challenge is going to be enough in itself for any non-white person, especially a non-white black person, to apply their skills towards anything that has to do with countering the global system of racism. So basically, I mean, get your certifications, get those credentials, and you don't have to worry about it. If I'm not saying I figured that you would, but I'm just saying in general, if a black person, whatever they're doing, and it's geared towards something correct, first and foremost, you're going almost automatically, the people that you're going to be dealing with is going to be black people, as far as that concerned. Although I do know that Dr. Welsing did have some patients who were white from my many years of listening to her, but it wasn't a whole lot, I would say that. But for the most part, that's who you'll be working with anyway. Unless that person is a non-white black person who is being showcased and has accepted to being showcased. But for the most part, just getting the work done itself would be the challenge that'll be out there for you. And I'm pretty sure be braced to be active in that war as a soldier. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
The person that dialed in last four digits 0342, did you have commentary? Caller that dialed in last four digits 0342, did you have commentary or are you just listening?
May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Sorry, I'm catching the very end of the show. Normally I'm asleep at this time. I sent in an email. I'm the gentleman that wrote in about my wife, elementary school teacher who was forced to resign because the kids did a recital, and she encouraged the kids to do to raise their fist at the end of the recital. And her female principal, black principal, had concerns that it would cause trouble, and just like clockwork, one of the white women there decided they didn't like it, so they went and wrote up some concerning statement to the principal, and the end result was they asked my wife to resign after 10 years of being a fourth grade elementary school teacher. So that was, I appreciate you reading that letter. We're talking about it, and we're doing just okay with that. And my last letter or email I wrote was about 3 different situations that were on my job. I don't know if you got a chance to read it today or not.
I did.
Okay. I guess I'll give you a little bit more insight on those 3 incidents since I'm on the phone now. One incident, as I put in the email, I think it was St. Patrick's Day. It was on St. Patrick's Day. And I normally wear all black to work. So this white woman was supposed to sign my paperwork, never speaks to me. I never speak to them. I've written in a couple more times where I just stated, I only speak when I'm spoken to. We keep it business. We keep it simple. I'm in and out. Just leave me alone. So anyway, she never speaks. All of a sudden, this particular morning, she was like, "Where's the green?" And I'm asking, why? And she was like, "It's St. Patrick's Day. Where's the green?" And I just simply told her, "I'm black. I don't wear green." And she proceeded to give me some type of reply. And by the time she finished whatever she said, I was out the door. I had just really damn time to hear it. But it just disgusts me that I've been seeing this woman for about 6 months, and this is the only time she spoke to me. So that's one incident. I think I wrote about the second incident. It was encounter with a white man, of course. I had to go up to him just for paperwork and signatures. And I guess in the background they had a meeting, or early morning meeting, and the meeting was filled, with all of the workers and so on and so forth. But coming up towards us was probably a group of maybe, I'd say 5 or 6 guys. So the white guy looks at me and said, "All these Mexicans." And I just looked at him. And I looked at him with this grin, like, okay, what's next? So he's chuckling and just dying, just killing himself laughing. He turns away from me, turns back towards me. I'm still looking. I hadn't said a word to him. So he finally, tries to break the silence. Like, here you go, bud. Roll my window up. I'm on the accelerator. Bye. So it's just the I don't even have a word for it right now, but the way these people act is just ridiculous. That's the only thing I can think of right now. But and it's absurd how they insist that you participate in the things that they participate in. And if you don't do it, then something's wrong with you. And I just don't see things that way. I see them as a species that need to be distrusted, and really we need to stay away from them. And that's exactly what I do. That's what I teach my daughter. That's what my wife is beginning to learn, because she had white friends, and this was one of her white friends that put into the notice that she was uncomfortable with the recital that my wife had done. So if you have any questions from that, I'm here to answer any.
Appreciate that. I remember this. I did read the email that you sent this week, the most recent one, the update on your wife's situation, and then some of your own workplace racism experiences, including the last one where you got this literal trained race soldier who's jumping out and trying to startle you on the job, and I thought it was. I said,
Oh, yes. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, I just
That
go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. This particular guy, he's my immediate supervisor, and like I said, I'm the same guy that had the Christmas party, but the white little terrorists around shooting people in the face. So anyway, I've noticed over the past few weeks that what he likes to do is come up behind me and try to attempt to startle me, or if I'm inside my vehicle, he'll snatch the door. If I'm doing paperwork, just snatch the door and try to startle me that way. And I just find it kind of odd and stupid and playful. And then I thought about it. I said, I'm dealing with white boys, white men, whatever. They're not playful. They know exactly what they're doing. And just looking at everybody, everyone has F-150s, big trucks, big tires, everything. I mean, you know where you are. And I looked at his tag, and his tag had a retired veterans tag on it. I think a U.S. Marine tag. So that tells me right there that this guy, he's ambushing me. And he's getting kicks off it and getting laughs off it or attempting to. So what I decided to do, since I'm hardly ever in the sight of anyone, I normally come in and out. They don't see me unless they call me to the office. But this particular day, I was filling my truck. So I just happened to, place myself in a position where no one can come up from behind me. And I think he noticed that. So instead of coming behind me this particular day, he just walked around and came in front of me and said what he had to say. Another incident where I come in and park the vehicle, and I didn't see anyone when I came up. Just so happened he grabbed on the door. It was locked. So now I'm looking at him like, why are you grabbing on my door? What's the issue? What's your point? What are you trying to do? And he was surprised, like, man, the door's locked. Can I talk to you for a second? I sat there and waited. I waited for about 5-6 seconds before I even acknowledged him. But just to let him know that, look, I'm grown, I'm adult, I don't come here to play. Come here to do my job and leave. Whatever you have in your mind, you can try it with somebody else. I'm not job scared. I really do not care. Even in this position that I'm in right now, or the family man, because we're still okay. But it's just that they just feel like we're here to like the delectable Negro, to be consumed. For every desire they have, every I don't know, every fetish they have, we have to be part of it. We have to be victimized in it. So I just lock my door, keep myself, in a position where I can't be, no one can come behind me, just to let them know I know exactly what you're doing. And it's a game where I don't have to say anything because he knows what he's doing is wrong. And I just left it at that. I hadn't had any problems with him or coming up to the door trying to walk behind me in like about 2 weeks now. So that's the gist of that story.
Context of white supremacy. I said earlier at the beginning when I read the email, I thought it was great when you, number one, just understanding, I'm dealing with racist man, racist woman, racist child, so I need to adjust my behavior accordingly and just figure out strategies to neutralize what they're doing. Lock the door and just be strategic about how I position myself in the office so that I minimize my blind spots, your opportunity to be a race soldier and ambush me, a black male. With that, and I would encourage folks to remember that attack that happened in New York. This is a white supremacist, and this is the language that they've been using in the media reports. CNN, New York Times, admitted white supremacist. This white man went to New York specifically, he said, to kill and violently attack black people, black males, he said, and he said specifically he was upset about white women being quote unquote romantically involved with black males, cowbell. He is a veteran, trained white killers coming back and putting their skill to use. People should keep that in mind as well. But that is our 3 hours for the workplace racism segment today. We'll be here tomorrow, since it was mentioned, the delectable Negro, all done. Tomorrow will be the conclusion. Normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll be here on Saturday for the compensatory call-in, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Today, workplace racism. Saturday, it'll be the compensatory call-in. Thanks to all the folks for participating. Special thanks to Stacy joining us live from London, staying up super late to check in with us and share her views. 3 a.m. and she's still hanging in to share with us. We will be doing it at the same time next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. If you have ideas, suggestions for ways that we can include our international audience, drop us an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. If you have guest suggestions, other ideas, questions, you can't find something in the archives, again, untiljustice@gmail.com. Thanks all for tuning in. I will state again, sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. I've seen no evidence that us having a beer, a glass of wine, cigarettes, tobacco, any other narcotics that whites crank out, none of that is going to help us solve the problem. Racist man, racist woman, racist child. And I've seen a lot of evidence that us being intoxicated makes it much easier for the Daniel Holtzclaws, Darren Wilsons, race soldiers of the world to continue their ambushes and violent attacks. Sobriety would be best under conditions of war. That said, Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Remind us to demonstrate the highest levels of black self-respect at all times, in all places, each and every time we are in contact with another black person. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.